Chapter 41. Wu Lingyu saw her eyelashes trembling and suddenly thought of the pair of lively and serious eyes he saw when he woke up. "You're pressing on my wound." Sima Yue thought of the wound on his stomach and got up from his body, saying, "I'm a man, I'm not interested in you. Hurry up and move inside." Wu Lingyu did not say anything this time, but moved inside a little. Sima Yue took out another pillow from her space ring and placed it outside. She lay down on her side and closed her eyes, no longer paying attention to Wu Lingyu. She, a girl, did not even care about sleeping on the same bed as him, yet he was still dawdling there. Just thinking about it made her feel bad. Wu Lingyu could feel that Sima Yue was angry. He touched the wound on his stomach. He didn't think that this brat's movements would be so nimble. With this kind of close combat attack, if it wasn't for his rich battle experience, he wouldn't be her opponent. Thinking of the rumors about her, was she really trash in the past? If the rumors in the past were fake, then she had hidden it too deeply. When she shouted at him just now, her posture was quite fierce. However, every time he saw her pretending to be a man, he felt that it was funny. Thinking of her words of not being interested in him and the clear look in her eyes when she said those words, he subconsciously touched his face. When he was in the upper realm, no matter where he went, he was the center of attention. Many girls tried to curry favor with him and secretly promised to be with him. Although he liked those girls and even hated them, he never thought that there would be a day where he would be shouted at by a girl that she was not interested. Although Sima Yue was asleep, she still let Little Roar and the others pay attention to Wu Lingyu's situation, just in case. Every time she fell asleep, she was afraid that she would dream of the past again. However, she wanted to dream of it again. However, this time, she did not dream until dawn. Wu Lingyu fell asleep very late. With another person in his body, and it was a woman, he felt uncomfortable all over. He didn't fall asleep until the latter half of the night. The next morning, Sima Yue got out of bed and glanced at Wu Lingyu, who was still sleeping. She quietly went outside to get some food, then quietly came back in, put the food on the table, and went out. After Sima Yue left, Wu Lingyu opened her eyes. She leaned over and supported her head with her hand. When she saw the dishes on the table, she smiled. He got up from the bed and sat down at the table, saying, "This girl really thinks that everyone else is like her and can't skip 3 meals a day." He sat down and drank 2 mouthfuls of porridge before saying, "This girl cooks a new dish for every meal. Where did she get so many new recipes? But the taste is really good." Wu Lingyu thought that Sima Yue was going out for a walk, but she ended up waiting for half a day. After Sima Yue left the cave in the morning, she called Yiguang out. "Master, the inside of the spirit pearl is amazing," Yiguang said excitedly when he saw Sima Yue. "Yu, this guy has been jumping around in the spirit pearl since he went in. He's so excited." Little Roar lied on Yiguang's head and reported to Sima Yue. "It's the first time I've seen such a good place. I'm just happy for a moment," Yiguang said embarrassedly. "Anyway, you guys will be staying inside if you don't have anything to do. You'll get used to it." Sima Yue said, "Do you know how to get to the outer region safely?" "Master, are you going to look for spirit beasts to improve your combat ability?" Yiguang asked. "Yes. My current strength is not enough and I don't know many spirit techniques. I want to start training with the lowest level spirit beasts," Sima Yue said. "There's no safe environment in the outer regions. But with Little Roar around, he can release his aura when he meets spirit beasts. They will naturally hide far away. Once we reach the outer regions, Little Roar will withdraw his aura," Yiguang said. "If that's the case, then let's go," Sima Yue said. "Master, the outer regions are still very far from here. Ride on my body and I'll bring you out," Yiguang said as his body swayed and became much bigger. Once a spirit beast becomes a holy beast, it will be able to transform. Yiguang had always been in this form. Sima Yue flipped onto Yiguang's body and said, "Let's go." Yiguang received the order and brought Sima Yue to the outer regions. With Little Roar's aura opening the way, they quickly reached the outer regions of Pu Luo mountain range. They stopped at the top of a mountain because Guang could not casually release his aura like Little Roar. Sima Yue was afraid that with him around, the spirit beasts would hide. She kept him in the spirit pearl and only left Little Roar outside to accompany her. There were many spirit beasts in Pu Luo mountain range. Just as they came down from the top of the mountain, they met a fire lizard. Yu, that's a third-level spirit beast. With your current strength, you should be able to fight it. Little Roar said after seeing the fire lizard's rank. It's also a fire-type spirit beast. Just nice, I can test out my fire-type spirit energy. Sima Yue said. When the fire lizard saw Sima Yue, its eyes immediately lit up. It was like a dog that saw a bone and wanted to eat her. Because Sima Yue did not have any spirit energy fluctuations, the fire lizard naturally treated her as a normal person. At first, it did not plan to use any spirit energy to attack her. Instead, it swung its long tail at her. It could not be denied that these spirit beasts had a tough exterior. That fire lizard only swung its tail casually, but the rock that Sima Yue was standing on had a few cracks on it. What great strength! Sima Yue stood at the side and looked at the cracks on the rock. She was slightly surprised. Looks like spirit beasts have strong bodies. This is not wrong. When she met a strong enemy, she would become especially excited. Since its strength was so great, and the human's body was weaker, she naturally wanted to play to her strengths. It just so happens that I haven't used my spirit energy in a battle yet. You can be my first test subject. As she said this, she began to condense the spirit energy in her body, slowly gathering it in her hands. When the fire lizard saw that Sima Yue had actually started to condense her spirit energy, it cried out loudly and once again used its tail to attack her, as if it wanted to interrupt her actions. When Sima Yue saw the fire lizard's actions, she hurriedly dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack. If it was a normal person, they would definitely have been interrupted by this attack. It was just like the time when Meng Ting saw her on the stage and threw out a spirit energy ball in advance. However, although she was stopped for a moment, she did not stop and continued to condense her spirit energy in her hands. As the spirit energy increased, the spirit energy ball became bigger and bigger. She could already feel the power in her hands. It was different from the feeling of pointing a gun at someone in her previous life. This kind of power made her feel as if she could split the sky and earth apart in an instant. Chapter 42. His master had once said that his soul was incomplete. It could be said that he only had half of a normal person's soul, so as he grew older, his body would become weaker. This was because that half of his soul was not enough to support his growing body. Other than the fact that his body was getting weaker and weaker, there was another drawback. He would faint every once in a while, and after he fainted, he would not be able to use his spiritual energy for a period of time. He had to take the pills that his master had prepared for him to slowly recover his soul. He cultivated for 2 cycles, but Sima Yue still had not returned. He got up and walked out of the cave, only to find that it was already evening. Master, did she leave with the pills you gave her? Wu Lingyu's other contracted beast said in the contract space. Wu Lingyu also thought so, but after thinking about her clear eyes, he shook his head and said, she wouldn't. As soon as he finished speaking, Sima Yue's figure appeared at the other end of the canyon. She did not expect Wu Lingyu to be at the entrance of the cave, and was stunned when she saw him. Wu Lingyu saw that Sima Yue's walking posture was a little off, and asked faintly, are you hurt? It's just a small injury. Sima Yue covered her left arm with her right hand. Why are you outside? I came out to check the time and see why you're not back yet. Wu Lingyu replied. Don't worry, a man's words carry enormous weight. Since I've taken your payment, I won't leave alone. Sima Yue said as she walked around him and entered the cave. This girl is really sensitive. Wu Lingyu laughed. Sima Yue returned to the cave and laid on the bed. Although she had taken the pills, the wound on her arm still hurt, reminding her of what she had gone through today. When she was fighting the fire lizard this morning, she relied on her agile body and combat experience as an assassin to win. After killing the fire lizard, Yiguang told her that normally, humans would collect the corpses of spirit beasts after killing them. This was because spirit beasts' bodies were relatively tough and could be sold. Moreover, spirit beasts' brains contained magic crystals. Magic crystals were important raw materials for refining pills and weapons, so they could be sold for a good price. Thus, she called out Exquisite and had her transform into a dagger. She dissected the fire lizard on the spot, found the magic crystal in its brain, and separated its skin and flesh. Although she had obtained the spoils of war, her body was also stained with blood. By the time she was done, it was already noon. She made a simple lunch and ate it. Before she could finish eating, a leopard smelled blood and came looking for her. This golden leopard was of the same rank as the fire lizard, but it was much more agile than the fire lizard. Its fighting ability was also much higher. Sima Yuyue had used some of her spiritual power in the morning and had not recovered yet, so it was very difficult for her to win against the golden leopard. In the end, her arm was hit by the golden leopard and her body was knocked to the ground. However, that fellow still died in the end. Fighting with spirit beasts twice in one day and even getting injured, this was the first time she realized how strong spirit beasts' fighting ability was. However, although she won, her body was also very tired. Her arm was bleeding profusely. She took out some pills from her spatial ring and ate them. However, because she had given them to Wu Lingyu, she could not find any high-grade pills. She could only take out a random bottle, so the effects were not very fast. She got up and kept the golden leopard's corpse into her spirit pearl. She left the place where she fought and coincidentally, there was a river not far away. She washed the blood off her body and rested for a long time. When her wounds had healed, she called Yiguang out. "Master, it was too dangerous just now. You should have called us out," Yiguang said as soon as he came out. "This little bit of danger is nothing. It's not like it was a matter of life and death," Sima Yuyue said. "But master, you're injured," Yiguang said with heartache. Sima Yuyue patted Yiguang's head and said, "If a person wants to grow, they have to learn to be independent. If you want to rely on others from the start, it will be very difficult for you to grow." Yiguang was silent for a while and said, "Master, I understand. All right, I don't have any more strength to fight today. Let's go back." After speaking, she sat on Yiguang's back and let it bring her back to the canyon. Thinking back to the battle in the day, Sima Yuyue felt a little excited. She realized that she could use the spiritual energy in her body better than yesterday. Her body that had not fought properly for a long time was screaming. However, at the same time, she also realized that her body was not strong enough. That was why she was injured in the battle. It seems that not only do I need to fight, I also need to train my body. After speaking, Sima Yuyue closed her eyes and fell asleep. Wu Lingyu walked around the canyon. When he came back, he saw that Sima Yuyue had already fallen asleep. "You went out for a day and even came back injured. What did you do for the whole day?" Wu Lingyu muttered softly. When he came to the bedside, Sima Yuyue, who was originally asleep, opened her eyes. Seeing that it was him, she went back to sleep. What a vigilant girl. Wu Lingyu sighed in his heart. Then, he took off his shoes, went to the bed and lay down with his clothes on. He didn't know if it was because he didn't eat today or because he was thinking about where she went, but he couldn't fall asleep. However, he seemed to have gotten used to having this girl by his side. Even if they were lying on the same bed, he didn't feel as repulsed as before. However, this was also the first time he had removed his halo and interacted with others like a normal person. Since he could remember, he was like the moon surrounded by stars. After that, he became the holy son of the Sage Pavilion. His status was even more noble. No matter where he went, there were all kinds of compliments and attentions. After being saved, he ate and slept like a normal person. He even waited for someone to come back. These days could be said to have never happened before. Maybe it was because the environment was different. He said to himself. On the second day, Sima Yue woke up very early again. Her injuries from yesterday had already healed a lot because of the pills. She went out to make breakfast and prepared to put it on the table for Wu Lingyu. However, she saw that he had already woken up. "You're up so early," Sima Yue said with some surprise. "I couldn't sleep so I got up." Wu Lingyu said, "You've already made breakfast?" Sima Yue placed the food on the table and said, "Since you're already up, let's eat together." Wu Lingyu sat down at the table. Sima Yue placed his breakfast in front of him. Just as he expected, today's breakfast was different from before. Sima Yue sat opposite him. She didn't say anything and just buried her head in eating. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yue's appearance. Although she appeared to be dressed as a man, he inexplicably felt that he was sitting opposite a virtuous wife. Chapter 43. Where are you going? Wu Lingyu suddenly asked. The mountains. Sima Yue replied. I want to go with you. Wu Lingyu suddenly said. What? Sima Yue looked at him in surprise. Wu Lingyu's words stunned both of them. Even he didn't know why he would say such a thing. Since you belong to me during this period of time, I naturally want to know what you're going to do outside. Wu Lingyu nodded. He didn't know if he was saying this to Sima Yue or to convince himself. Sima Yue looked at the smile on Wu Lingyu's face and said, Your smile is very fake. It's better if you don't smile. Wu Lingyu touched his chin and said, Others say that my smile has a holy radiance that brings them warmth and hope. Those people are all blind. Sima Yue said. Hee hee. Wu Lingyu laughed and stopped pretending. The aura on his body suddenly changed. His holy smile turned into an evil smile. His pure eyes became charming. His entire person was filled with an evil aura. This is the original you, right? Sima Yue said as she looked at the person who had changed in an instant. This guy gave off the feeling that he was an incomparably holy person. But now, his aura was completely different. This difference was huge. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, she definitely wouldn't believe that this was the same person. Can you bring me along now? Wu Lingyu asked. Sima Yue was still hesitant. If she brought him along, he would know that she had made a contract with Yiguang. Don't worry. I won't tell anyone what I see. Wu Lingyu said, because, there's nothing to say. Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu. Her instincts told her that he wasn't lying and said, Then you can come. But I won't have time to take care of you after you leave. It's okay. Wu Lingyu smiled. She was so weak that she really didn't need to protect him. Sima Yue brought him outside and called Yiguang out. She sat on his back and turned to look at Wu Lingyu. Come on up. Wu Lingyu did not expect Sima Yue to have a contract with a sacred beast. With her strength, shouldn't she only be able to contract with one spiritual beast? What's more, contracting an ancient divine beast would require even more energy. Under such circumstances, she was still able to contract other spiritual beasts. It seemed that her spiritual power was very strong. Sima Yue saw that he was in a daze and remembered that he did not like to be close to people. She said, If you don't want to come up, you can go back. After saying that, she even smiled. Just as she was about to let Yiguang go, she suddenly felt something tighten around her waist. A pair of large hands hugged her. I can't use my spiritual power right now. You have to let me hug you tightly. Wu Lingyu sat behind Sima Yue and whispered into her ear. Sima Yue's face darkened. Although she did not turn around, she could already feel the proud smile on his face. Then you have to hold on tight. Yiguang, let's go. Sima Yue coldly shouted and Yiguang started to run. They followed the route they took yesterday to the outskirts of Pu Luo mountain range. When they reached the outskirts, she kept Yiguang. Wu Lingyu looked at the surroundings and asked, What are you doing here? You'll know in a while. Sima Yue said, But you have to stay away from me later. Otherwise, I won't be responsible if you get hurt. Wu Lingyu did not understand, but he quickly understood Sima Yoyue's purpose for coming here. This time, Sima Yoyue encountered a rattlesnake. Its level was 2 levels higher than the 2 spirit beasts from yesterday. If she had encountered it yesterday, she would have most likely lost. But with yesterday's experience, she was more familiar with the use of her spiritual power. She also had some experience in fighting with spirit beasts. Wu Lingyu leaned against a tree not far away and watched Sima Yoyue fight with the rattlesnake. There were a few times when she was almost bitten by the rattlesnake, but she managed to avoid it. Moreover, as the battle dragged on, she became more familiar with the battle. Her body became more agile. If it was said that she was dodging most of the time, then later on, she was using the rattlesnake as a practice target. Pooh! Sima Yoyue jumped and flipped behind the rattlesnake. She then stabbed the dagger into the rattlesnake's weak spot. The rattlesnake's head and tail were raised. Its body suddenly became stiff and it kept shaking, as if it wanted to get rid of Sima Yoyue. Sima Yoyue did not expect the rattlesnake to still have so much strength when the dagger was already in its weak spot. Seeing that the dagger was about to be thrown out, she immediately sat on the rattlesnake's back. Her 2 legs tightly clamped onto its body. Her pants were even torn by the scales on the rattlesnake's body. The rattlesnake straightened its body and wanted to throw Sima Yoyue off. She quickly reached out her left hand to hold onto the snake's body. She then pulled out the dagger with her right hand and stabbed it fiercely. This time, she used all her strength and stabbed the dagger to the bottom. The rattlesnake struggled a few more times and then slowly fell to the side. After a tough battle, she had exhausted all her strength and fell to the ground together with the snake's body. Wu Lingyu walked over slowly and looked at Sima Yoyue, who was lying in a pool of blood and panting heavily. Her performance just now had shocked him. Seeing her practice without any regard for her life, he was deeply touched. "Are you all right? I won't die." Sima Yoyue flipped her body and lay sprawled on the ground. She had just fought with the rattlesnake for almost an hour. Now that her limbs were weak, she did not even want to move. Hearing Sima Yoyue's words, Wu Lingyu chuckled and said, "Since you won't die, then get up. If you continue lying down, other spiritual beasts will smell the blood and come over." Sima Yoyue glanced at Wu Lingyu. Taking a deep breath, she supported herself with both hands and stood up. Wu Lingyu stood at the side and looked at her sorry state. He asked, "Where are we going now?" Sima Yoyue kept the rattlesnake and looked around. "That way." Wu Lingyu did not raise any objections and followed her down the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, they saw a small stream. "Hey, you sit here and rest. I'm going to take a bath. You're not allowed to peek." Sima Yoyue pushed Wu Lingyu to sit under a tree as she spoke. She went to the small stream behind to take a bath. Before she went into the water, she called Yiguang and the rest out to guard her. Although she looked like a man, she was a real woman. If that fellow came over to take a look, she would be at a disadvantage. Wu Lingyu sat under the tree and leaned against it when he heard the sound of water behind him. He had not sat on the ground for a long time and was still in such a casual mood. Chapter 44. You're done bathing? Wu Lingyu opened his eyes and asked as the light in front of him was blocked by a shadow. "Yes." Sima Yoyue replied faintly and said, "You didn't peek, right? What's there to look at?" Wu Lingyu said. Humph. She had a good figure too, okay? She just didn't show it. What do you want to do now? Wu Lingyu asked. "I'm hungry. Let's eat," Sima Yoyue said. Wu Lingyu's mouth twitched. "Eat again?" Sima Yoyue didn't care about his reaction. She walked to the shore and took out the snake that she just killed. She cut it into pieces with a dagger and kept the rest. She left one piece and washed it with the river water. "You plan to eat this?" Wu Lingyu walked over and saw Sima Yoyue playing with the snake meat. His eyebrows furrowed. Sima Yoyue glanced at him and said, "You don't have to eat it if you don't like it. You won't feel hungry if you don't eat anyway." Wu Lingyu stood at the side and didn't say anything. Sima Yuyue cleaned the snake meat and took out a pot. She put all kinds of seasonings in it and put it on the fire to boil the snake soup. She then took the rest of the snake meat and skewered it with an iron skewer. After a while, the smell of the barbecued meat wafted over. She then put the prepared seasonings on the meat and roasted it for a while before putting it on a plate at the side. She waited for all the meat to be roasted before putting it on the table. "Do you want to eat?" After all, he was her employer now, so she asked symbolically. Wu Lingyu seemed to be a little resistant to snakes. After hesitating for a while, he walked to the table and picked up the meat to eat. After eating the meat, the snake soup was almost done. Sima Yuyue scooped 2 bowls of soup for the 2 of them. The delicious taste made Wu Lingyu break his rule of not eating snake meat again. "You seem to know how to cook." Wu Lingyu finished the soup and asked. "You know I couldn't cultivate in the past." Sima Yuyue said, "So I had to eat all the time. Then I learned how to cook." "The general's residence doesn't have a chef. Can an ordinary chef cook better than me?" "No." "Then that's it. And I really enjoy the process of making things." After finishing her meal, she packed up her things and continued to look for lone spirit beasts in the mountains for training. At night, they did not return to the cave in the canyon. Instead, they found a cave to rest in. Anyway, she went back yesterday because Wu Lingyu was there. Since he came with her today, there was no need for her to go back. For the next half a month, they did not return to the canyon. Sima Yuyue spent most of her time battling with spirit beasts. Wu Lingyu would sometimes accompany her, and sometimes he would cultivate in the cave by himself. In half a month's time, Sima Yuyue could clearly feel that Wu Lingyu's strength was constantly recovering. Sometimes, the aura that he unconsciously released would even make her feel apprehensive. However, no matter how strong he became, she would not allow him to interfere when she was battling. However, it seemed like that guy did not intend to interfere. Half a month later, Fire Qilin returned. He did not find Wu Lingyu in the canyon, but through the contract, he found them outside. Sima Yuyue was battling with a spirit beast. When Fire Qilin arrived, the spirit beast immediately fainted. "Yu, that's a transformed beast." Little Roar reminded her from the spirit pearl. "Transformed beast?" Sima Yuyue said in surprise when she saw Fire Qilin. Fire Qilin glanced at Sima Yuyue. She was immediately suppressed by the formless pressure on his body, making it hard for her to breathe. Was that his contracted beast? Not only was he strong, his contracted beast was also so strong. What was his identity? "Yu, I know who he is." Little Roar said. "You know? Have you seen him before? Why didn't you say so earlier?" Sima Yuyue asked in surprise. "Where have I seen him before? If I had, would have remembered earlier." Little Roar said, "I recognized his contracted beast." "That transformed beast? You know it?" "You can say so." Little Roar said, "That's a Fire Qilin." "Fire Qilin? Isn't that an ancient divine beast that only exists in legends?" Sima Yuyue thought of the ancient divine beasts that she had read in the books before. One of them was a Fire Qilin. "That's right. It's an ancient divine beast like me." Little Roar said, "Furthermore, there's only one in the continent. The person who contracted him is the holy son of the Sage Pavilion. Now that Fire Qilin has appeared, that Wu Lingyu is definitely the holy son of the Sage Pavilion." "What kind of power is the Sage Pavilion?" "It sounds like a decent sect." Sima Yuyue said. "The Sage Pavilion is the power that rules this world. No matter where it is, there will always be a branch of the Sage Pavilion. The head of the Sage Pavilion is a sage, which is equivalent to a god that rules this world." Little Roar explained. "So you're saying that this guy's identity is actually very honorable?" Sima Yuyue touched her chin and looked at Fire Qilin and Wu Lingyu. "The Sage Pavilion appears in front of the public with a holy image. I heard that this holy son is the purest man and is respected everywhere." Little Roar said. "Holy? Why can't I see it?" Sima Yuyue said, I feel that there's an evil aura around him. On the other side, Wu Lingyu and Fire Qilin were talking. Master, I haven't found that thing. Fire Qilin said, I've searched the entire Pu Luo mountain range, but I haven't smelled its aura. Could it be that I've sensed wrongly? Wu Lingyu said. Master, what do we do now? Fire Qilin asked. Since there's nothing, we can only go back up first. We've just received the palace master's summons today and have everyone rush back. Wu Lingyu said. What's the matter? I don't know. Maybe that old guy has found the girl in the prophecy again. Wu Lingyu said, let's go back and take a look first. Okay. After the two of them finished talking, Fire Qilin returned to the contract space. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yuyue and indicated for her to go over. Sima Yuyue followed the mindset of her employer and came in front of Wu Lingyu. We're leaving now. Wu Lingyu said concisely. It's over? Sima Yuyue blinked twice and looked at Wu Lingyu excitedly. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yuyue's happy expression and felt an indescribable discomfort in his heart. Did she not want to be with him that much? You're very happy. That's right. Although the results of my training here are very good, I have more important things to do. Before Sima Yuyue could finish her sentence, she had already fallen into an embrace. What's more important than accompanying me? Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yuyue with an evil smile, his eyes filled with anger. What's wrong with you? Sima Yuyue looked at Wu Lingyu, who suddenly changed his expression and put her hands on his chest. Let go of me. Wrong with you? Maybe I'm really wrong. Chapter 45. Wu Lingyu narrowed his eyes. This feeling was even better than what he had imagined. Ugh, Sima Yuyue took advantage of his inattention and bit his lips. Then, she slid down and escaped from his grasp. Are you crazy? She stood far away and looked at Wu Lingyu cautiously. Wu Lingyu touched his lips. He could already smell his own blood. You bit me really hard, he said faintly. There was no sign of anger on his face. Of course. Sima Yuyue stared at him and said, this prince is straight. I have no interest in men like you. Oh. Why did I hear that you've been chasing after a man in the capital? Wu Lingyu wiped the blood off his lips and said. You already said that you heard about it. I told you before that you can't believe rumors. This prince likes beautiful women. Sima Yuyue lied without blushing. Hee. Seeing Sima Yuyue's reaction, he laughed out loud. You like men? Sima Yuyue looked him up and down. Finally, she heard a certain part of him say, you're gay. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yuyue's red eyes and his face darkened. What did you say? I don't care if you're gay or not. You already said that you're leaving. Now, give me the other half of the reward. Then, we'll go our separate ways and never meet again. Never meet again? Wu Lingyu moved and appeared beside Sima Yuyue. She did not even see his movements clearly. She only felt that she was suppressed by his aura and could not move. Wu Lingyu took out a jade bottle and pulled Sima Yuyue's hand over. He placed the bottle in her hand and whispered into her ear, remember to change the smell on your body in the future. Otherwise, you won't be able to hide from the noses of high-level spiritual beasts. Woman. Sima Yuyue was shocked. He knew that she was a girl. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yuyue's expression with satisfaction. He smiled and kissed her lips again. Then he said, although I don't like crying women, since we've slept together for so many nights, I won't be irresponsible. I'll reluctantly admit that you're my woman. Sima Yuyue glared at Wu Lingyu. This guy knew everything and slept on the same bed as her as if nothing had happened. Now, he even claimed that she was his woman. If she wasn't imprisoned, she would have stabbed the dagger into his heart. Wu Lingyu saw the anger in her eyes and smiled. He reached out to touch her smooth face and said, you're really cute when you're angry. I hope that the next time we meet, you'll have already grown up. Next time we meet, remember to wear female clothes for me. I'll show you what I'm wearing. Hee hee. Wu Lingyu felt that he liked to see her angry face. He took off the illusion ring from her finger. Sima Yoyue's body immediately changed. At least, her chest was no longer flat. There's still some goods. He touched it with his hand and nodded. Bastard. Hooligan. Are you scolding me? I'm just measuring its size. Wu Lingyu said. He then took out another ring and cut Sima Yoyue's finger. He dripped a drop of blood on it. After the blood soaked into the ring, he put it on for her. He then turned the knob on the ring and Sima Yoyue turned back into a man. When she saw Wu Lingyu put on the ring for her, Sima Yoyue suddenly thought of the time when people got married in her past life, the way the groom put on the ring for the bride. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yoyue's current appearance with satisfaction and said, "This way, even if there's a high-level spirit beast, it won't be able to smell that you're a woman." Alright, that old man is rushing me again. I have to go. Remember, you're my woman now. You're not allowed to attract other men. Remember to miss me. After speaking, he planted another kiss on her lips. Woman, don't forget our promise. Next time, remember to wear female clothes for me. Get lost. Ha ha ha. There's a city not far from here. There's a transportation array that leads to the capital. Seeing Sima Yoyue's appearance, he laughed and retreated. He formed a seal with his hands and following his movements, the space seemed to be torn apart. A dark tunnel appeared in front of them. Wu Lingyu came to the tunnel and turned to look at Sima Yoyue, saying, "Woman, remember not to let anyone know that you're a woman. If anything happens, I won't save you." After speaking, he turned and walked into the tunnel. The tunnel closed after he entered, as if it had never appeared. Damn it. Following Wu Lingyu's departure, Sima Yoyue's body was finally able to move. Thinking about the feeling of being imprisoned, she was furious. If he wanted to kill her, she wouldn't even have the strength to retaliate. However, this also ignited her fighting spirit. Was this the power of an expert to kill an enemy with just a feeling? She looked at the illusion ring on her hand. Thinking about how he knew that she was a woman and kissed her 3 times, she had the urge to kill him. Just you wait. If I don't take revenge, I'll take your surname. Sima Yoyue shouted towards the tunnel. This was her first kiss in 2 lifetimes and it was snatched away just like that. Thinking about it made her angry. Yu. Seeing Sima Yoyue's angry look, Little Roar called out softly from the spirit pearl. What? Sima Yoyue said unhappily. That, I heard a lot of spirit beasts running over. If you're still in a daze here, before Little Roar could finish his words, she saw a lot of spirit beasts rushing out from behind the mountain and running towards her with all their might. There were at least 100 of them. They were the same species as the rhinoceros that she had just killed. They must have smelled the scent of blood and came to take revenge. Damn it. Sima Yoyue didn't have time to complain as she scampered off. As she ran, she called out Yiguang and waited for it to transform into its original form before riding it out of Pu Luo mountain range. The space tunnel opened in another world and Wu Lingyu walked out. Thinking about Sima Yoyue's angry look just now, he couldn't help but smile. He called out Fire Qilin and got it to transform into its original form before sitting on it. Master, that wasn't like you at all. Fire Qilin said as they flew. Oh. Don't tell me you really want her to be your woman? Fire Qilin asked. Why can't I? Wu Lingyu asked back. But the difference between you and her is too big. Even the women in the palace are 1,000 times better than her. Why would you fall for her? Fire Qilin didn't understand. He had only left for half a month. How did his master, who had never been close to women, suddenly become like this? This master likes the things she cooks. Wu Lingyu said indifferently. If Sima Yoyue heard this, she would definitely regret it. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have cooked for him. Wu Lingyu smiled. Actually, he didn't know why he said that he wanted her to be his woman. However, when he said it just now, he didn't feel any discomfort at all. It was as if it was something that should be done. Her stubborn little face, her courage that didn't shrink back whenever she met with danger, and her cooking skills were all different from other women. Little by little, she ran into his heart. Chapter 46. Wu Lingyu sat on the fire qilin and landed in front of the palace gate. The guards immediately knelt down and said respectfully, "Greetings to the Holy Sun." Wu Lingyu smiled and nodded at them, gently saying, "You may rise." "Thank you, Holy Sun." The guards stood up and returned to their positions. "Where's the pavilion master?" Wu Lingyu asked. "The pavilion master is in Clear Wind Hall discussing some matters with the other pavilion masters." The guard said, "The pavilion master instructed us to go to Clear Wind Hall to look for the Holy Sun if he returns." "I understand." Wu Lingyu waved his hand and entered the palace gate, walking towards Clear Wind Hall. Everywhere he went, everyone respectfully bowed to him. "Holy Sun, the pavilion master has been waiting for you for a long time." A woman in white saw Wu Lingyu and said, "Please follow this servant." The woman brought Wu Lingyu in and said to the people in the main hall, "Pavilion master, the Holy Sun has returned." A man in black sat in the main seat, wearing a white robe. It was simple but not simple. His handsome face made him look like he was in his 30s, but he was actually an old man who had lived for over 1,000 years. "Lingyu greets the pavilion master." Wu Lingyu slightly leaned forward. "Lingyu, you've returned. I'm currently discussing some matters with the other pavilion masters. You may return to your seat." The pavilion master nodded and said, "Yes, pavilion master." Wu Lingyu went to the seat below the pavilion master and sat down. "All right, let's continue." The pavilion master said, "Where were we just now?" Replying to the pavilion master, "We were just talking about the Shiman clan being exterminated." A female pavilion master said, "Yes, have you investigated the Shiman clan being exterminated?" The pavilion master asked. "We've already investigated it clearly. It was done by the Zongjing clan who had always been their enemy." Another pavilion master replied, "We don't care about the matters between clans, but I heard that Shiman clan once had a daughter called Shiman Yuyue. Her innate talent is extremely high. Is she the girl that the higher-ups want us to look for?" Pavilion master asked. Replying to pavilion master, the people who went to investigate came back and said that although Shiman Yuyue's talent is extremely high and she is also a multi-element spirit master, she only has 3 elements and not more than 4. That pavilion master said, "Furthermore, she has already been killed by the Zongjing clan." This point can be confirmed. Wu Lingyu was sitting in her seat. When she heard them talking about Shiman Yuyue, she couldn't help but think of Sima Yuyue. Thinking of her furious look before she left, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up. "Since it's like this, we don't need to care about the Shiman clan's matter anymore," Pavilion Master said. "Yes, Pavilion Master." That man said, "However, when we were investigating, we found out that the Zongjing clan has a young miss called Zongjing Hanyu. She is a rare genius. I feel that she can be accepted into our sage pavilion." "Is she the girl in the prophecy?" Pavilion Master asked. "No, she is a dual-element metal and fire." The Pavilion Master said, "We have already sent people to check on her and confirmed that she is dual-elemental. Since she is dual-elemental, then accept her in." Pavilion Master waved his left hand and placed his right hand on the armrest. Pressing his forehead, he said, "What about the other places?" "Pavilion Master, I found a 4-elemental spirit master in the area under our jurisdiction." Another Pavilion Master who looked more sinister said, "Are you sure she is a 4-elemental?" "Yes, Pavilion Master. She is a 10-year-old girl who has just started cultivating. During the clan's test, she was found to be a 4-elemental. No matter if she is the girl in the prophecy or not, we cannot let her go." Pavilion Master said indifferently, as if a life was not worth mentioning to him. "I have already sent people to bring her to the Sage Pavilion in the name of her being extremely talented. I plan to let her join us and kill her after reporting to Pavilion Master." "Good." According to the orders from above, we would rather kill 1,000 innocents than let one go. As long as she is a 4-elemental spirit master, we cannot let her go. Do you understand? Pavilion Master instructed. Understood. Wu Lingyu sat in his seat and did not say a word. He laughed coldly in his heart. This was the sage pavilion that everyone thought was pure and holy. In their eyes, other people's lives were nothing more than grass. For a prophecy that they heard from who knows where, they would do this. After a while, the other pavilion masters finished their discussion and left. Only the pavilion master and Wu Lingyu were left. Why did you go out for so long this time? Pavilion master looked at Wu Lingyu and asked. Replying to pavilion master, I heard that there were movements in the Yi-Lin continent, so I went down to take a look. Wu Lingyu replied. Then did you find anyone suspicious? No. Wu Lingyu said confidently, the Yi-Lin continent is the lowest level continent here. It is harder than ascending to the heavens to produce a genius. If he were to talk about a suspicious girl, he would think of Sima Yuyue. However, he did not plan to say that out loud. Even so, we cannot be careless. Pavilion Master said. I understand. Wu Lingyu lowered his head slightly, acting as if he had heard what he said. How is your body? Pavilion Master asked with concern. Replying to Pavilion Master, it is still the same. Master said that he is still looking for a solution for me. Wu Lingyu replied. Pavilion Master took out a jade bottle from his interspatial ring and said, this is a pill that I asked people to research. It has a very good nourishing effect on the soul. Take it and consume it. Wu Lingyu stood up and received the jade bottle with both hands, saying, Thank you for your concern, Pavilion Master. You are the holy son that I personally selected. You will be my successor. Naturally, I have to care about you. Pavilion Master smiled and said, if you have any problems in the future, just let the people below investigate. You don't have to do it personally. I understand. Alright, you can go and rest. Pavilion Master waved his hand and said. Yes. Then I will go first. Go. Remember to consume the pill. Pavilion Master reminded. Yes, I will consume it when I get back. Wu Lingyu said, Lingyu will take his leave. Wu Lingyu turned and left the main hall. When he was at the door, Pavilion Master's voice came from behind him. The Holy Daughter will be returning from above in a few days. When the time comes, bring some people to welcome her. Thinking about that woman whose skin was thicker than a city wall and who always clung to him, Wu Lingyu's body stiffened. However, he still turned around and said, yes. At the same time, in the Yilan continent's Pu Luo mountain range, Sima Yuyue was riding on Yaguang and escaping in a sorry state. She originally thought that she would be fine after leaving the mountain range. She did not expect that they would chase her for hundreds of miles. As for the city that Wu Lingyu said was not far away, she rode on Yaguang for half a day before she saw it. This far away, is what he meant by not far? Sima Yuyue kept Yaguang in her spirit pearl. The next time I see him, I will definitely skin him alive. When she entered the city, everyone saw her sorry state. Not only did they not laugh at her, they even looked at her with deep respect. Excuse me, how do I get to the Spirit Master Guild? Sima Yuyue pulled a passerby and asked. Master, just go straight ahead. After 2 streets, just turn left. The passerby replied. I know, thank you. This was the first time that Sima Yuyue was looked at with such reverence. She felt that it was a little magical. What she did not know was that everyone here could tell that she came from the Pu Luo mountain range. Since she dared to go to the Pu Luo mountain range alone, she must be a powerful person. Naturally, everyone treated her with respect. She followed the person's instructions and went to the Spirit Master Guild. There was a teleportation array that led to the capital. Chapter 47. Correspondingly, alchemists had their own alchemist guild, weapon masters had their own weapon masters guild, beast tamers had their own beast tamers guild, and even mercenaries had their own mercenary guild. The members of each guild intertwined and were not completely independent. Different guilds managed different resources, and the teleportation array of each city was in the Soul Master Guild. When Sima Yue walked into the Soul Master Guild, the people inside saw her shabby clothes and were filled with respect. "How can I help you?" The staff bowed slightly and asked. "I would like to use the teleportation array to return to the capital," Sima Yue said as she looked around the guild. Perhaps because the place was small, the Soul Master Guild here was also small. The decor was simple, and the counter was old. There was only a woman working with her head down. When she saw Sima Yue enter, she raised her head and asked. The woman smiled and said, "I'm sorry, our teleportation array leads directly to the capital." "There isn't?" Sima Yue was confused. "Didn't Wu Lingyu say that there was one?" "There used to be one, but it broke down a while ago, and there was no array master to fix it." The woman said, "But there are teleportation arrays to the cities near the capital. You can go there and then transfer to the capital. It won't take much time and gold coins." "Alright, then I'll go there first," Sima Yue said. "Please fill in a form and pay 5 gold coins." The servant passed her a piece of paper. Sima Yue took the paper and saw that it was just some basic information. She filled it up quickly, then took out 5 gold coins from her space ring and placed it on the counter. The servant placed the gold coins in the drawer and took the paper without looking at it, saying, "Please follow me." Sima Yue followed her to a room in the backyard of the Soul Master Guild. She saw a rune array in the middle of the room and the names of many cities on the wall. "Please stand on the array." Sima Yue stood on it and watched as the servant went to the right wall and pressed the name of a city. "This is Xiang City, which is on the right side of the capital. It will be more convenient for you to go to the capital if you go there," the maid explained to Sima Yue. Sima Yue nodded. At this moment, the array suddenly lit up with white light. It was similar to the teleportation array she saw in the cave. All the runes lit up and she disappeared into the array. Seeing that the array was working normally, the maid looked down at the form in her hand. When she saw the name column, she was stunned. "Sima Yue? That trash?" She lifted her head to look at the teleportation portal, but Sima Yue was no longer there. "It's definitely not that trash." The maid shook her head and said, "That trash can't cultivate at all. That person just now had a spatial ring, so he must be a spirit master. It must be someone with the same name." The maid shook her head and left the room with the teleportation array. Sima Yue felt her body being squeezed, and her eyes closed involuntarily in the teleportation circle. She did not know how much time had passed, but when she felt relaxed and could open her eyes again, she had already appeared in another room. Did we use the Pu Luo Mountain Ranges transmission array? Why is there only one person? Hey, hurry up and get up. Don't occupy the teleportation portal, there are teleportation portals from other places coming here. Sima Yue heard a surprised voice and crawled up from the teleportation portal, standing to one side. Less than half a minute after she left, the teleportation portal lit up again. After the white light faded, 3 people appeared in the room. The 3 of them glanced at the room, and without saying anything, they left immediately. After they left, the teleportation portal lit up again, and 2 more people came. They also glanced at the room and left. Sima Yue saw that everyone else was standing, and it seemed like she was the only one who was lying down when she arrived here. "Hey, what are you doing here? Why aren't you leaving?" A teenage boy in the room saw Sima Yue staring blankly at the teleportation portal and scolded her. "I want to use the teleportation portal to go to the capital," Sima Yue said. "You want to go to the capital?" The boy looked at Sima Yue and said, "Go out the door and turn left to the courtyard. Go there." Sima Yue did not know why he wanted her to go there, but she still obediently went. She was now in a hurry to go home, and she was too lazy to care about these people's unreasonable attitudes. After leaving the room, she saw a large garden outside, and there were many strange flowers and plants. It was very different from the simple and crude Spirit Master Guild in Pu Luo Mountain Range. She saw a green foxtail grass, which she had seen a few times in her previous life. She went forward and broke it, and hung it in her mouth. Following the boy's instructions, she went to the courtyard beside the courtyard, where there was a long queue. So many people. Sima Yue went over, and stood at the back of the queue, following the crowd as they slowly moved forward. She thought that this was the place to fill in the form, but she quickly realized that the people who went in did not come out, and from time to time, there were bursts of white light. So the teleportation portal here is not the same as the one to leave. She rubbed her chin, and said, "This teleportation portal seems to be very fun. In the future when I have time, I should go and learn. If I can directly make a teleportation portal, then it will be much more convenient." Ha ha ha, when the people in front of her heard her words, they all laughed out loud. A man at the back patted her shoulder, and said, "Little brother, becoming an array master is not something that can be done just because you want to. Is it very difficult to become an array master?" Sima Yue asked. Of course, becoming an array master is not something that an ordinary person can do. The difficulty is comparable to becoming an alchemist or a weapon refiner. It might even be more difficult, because out of 1,000 spirit masters, there might be an alchemist, but there might not be an array master. That man said. Is that so? Then wouldn't it be awesome to become an array master? Sima Yue's eyes lit up. If it was someone who was familiar with her in her previous life, they would know that she was extremely interested in this. Haha, in any case, it is very difficult. Little brother, if you have the ambition, then work hard to do it. Once you succeed, then you can have whatever you want. The man did not have any intention of laughing at Sima Yue, and patted her back as he encouraged her. Hee hee, thank you big brother. Sima Yue laughed and said. You're welcome, little brother, do your best. The man said, oh right, where are you going? The capital. Sima Yue replied. The capital is not far from here. Using the teleportation portal is a waste of gold coins. Do you know anyone in the capital? The man asked. His unintentional words shocked Sima Yue. If she used the teleportation portal to go back, then she would directly go to the Spirit Master Guild in the capital. The people here might not know her, but the people there would definitely know her. Then wouldn't the fact that she was a Spirit Master be exposed? I remember now, I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Bye big brother. After thinking it through, she left the queue and left the Spirit Master Guild. She stopped a person on the street and asked for directions to the capital. That person not only told her the directions, but also told her that she could take a beast carriage, and it only cost 15 gold coins. Hence, Sima Yue went to find a place that rented beast carriages, rented a beast carriage, and asked the person to send her to the capital. It was less than a day's journey, which meant that this city was really close to the capital. In the evening, she was already standing in front of the gates of the capital. Outside the city, she paid the person and asked him to return. Looking at the majestic city walls, she smiled slightly. Chapter 48. Fifth young master, you're back. Sima Yue nodded indifferently at them, saying, I'm back. Where's grandfather? The general just came back. The guard said, I'll go inform them immediately. After speaking, the guard ran in, shouting as he ran, Fifth young master is back, fifth young master is back. Sima Yue saw how excited that guy was and smiled lightly as she shook her head and went in. Yu is back. Where is she? Fifth bro is back. That guy is finally back. Fifth young master is finally back. Just as Sima Yue passed through the front yard, she felt her vision darken and she fell into a warm embrace. Grandfather. Smelling a familiar scent, Sima Yue rubbed against Sima Lai's embrace. You're finally back. Sima Lai hugged Sima Yue tightly, his voice choked with emotion. Grandfather, I'm fine. Sima Yue patted Sima Lai's back and comforted him. Fifth bro, you're finally back. If you didn't come back, we were going to look for you. Sima Yu ran and the others ran into the yard and saw Sima Yue come out from Sima Lai's embrace. Grandfather is really biased, he's never hugged us like this before. Sima Yulu huffed. If you were missing for a few months, I'd give you a few hugs too. Sima Lai shouted at Sima Yulu. Fifth bro, where have you been these few months? You worried us to death. Sima Yuchi walked over and saw that Sima Yuyue was safe and sound, his heart finally relaxed. Yeah, how did you end up in the fourth teleportation array, and where were you sent to? Sima Yuming asked. It's a long story, let's go in and talk. Sima Yuyue said. Okay. They went to the hall and Sima Yuyue sat down and began to talk about her experience. Pa, after hearing Sima Yuyue's words, Sima Lai slammed his palm on the table and angrily said, someone actually dared to harm you. I was wondering why you would enter the fourth teleportation array. So you were pushed in by someone. Sima Yulu said, I'll go to the sect tomorrow and drag that person out. I'll let him understand that there are some people he can't afford to offend. Don't be so agitated. Sima Yuyue rolled her eyes helplessly when she saw how eager they were. Are you guys going to listen to me or not? Fifth brother, tell me. Where were you teleported to? Pu Luo mountain range. Sima Yuyue answered. What? You were actually sent to the Pu Luo mountain range? Did you get hurt or anything? Don't worry, I'm fine. Sima Yuyue said with a smile. To show that she was okay, she even stood up and moved a little. There are many spirit beasts in the Pu Luo mountain range. Even a normal spirit master would not dare to go there alone. Did you encounter any danger? Sima Yulu asked worriedly. Fifth brother, if you're hurt anywhere, you have to tell us. Sima Yuran looked at Sima Yuyue and was worried that she was hiding something from them. Even they did not dare to casually go to the Pu Luo mountain range, not to mention Sima Yuyue who had just started cultivating. I'm really fine. Sima Yuyue emphasized again. Seeing that they did not believe her, she could only call Yiguang out. The moment Yiguang came out, the pressure of a saint beast filled the entire hall. Master. Yiguang shrunk and came beside Sima Yoyue's feet. This is the spirit beast Yiguang that I contracted at the Pu Luo mountain range. It's a saint beast. When I met with danger, it saved me. Sima Yuyue saw that they did not believe her, so she gave all the credit to Yiguang. Yiguang looked at Sima Yuyue and thought that every time its master asked it to be a bystander, it did not do anything. Seeing Sima Yoyue's threatening gaze, it could only lower its head and not say anything. This saint beast has never been tamed before, how did you contract it? Sima Lai looked at Yiguang, his eyes filled with suspicion. When I met it, it happened to be injured by a spirit beast and escaped. It fell by the river and I saved it, so it took the initiative to acknowledge me as its master. Sima Yuyue lied without skipping a beat. How was this saving Yiguang? It was obvious that she had saved Wu Lingyu. But since she said it this way, they could only listen. After all, this was the most reasonable explanation. Oh right, I also saved someone at the Pu Luo mountain range and he gave me 2 pills as thanks. At that time, I thought of grandfather. Sima Yuyue said as she took out 2 jade bottles. Inside them were 2 pills that could help one advance in rank. She placed the pills on Sima Lai's table and returned to her seat. What kind of pills are these? Sima Yulu asked curiously when he saw Sima Lai look at the pills in the jade bottles. These are pills that help one advance in rank. Sima Yuyue said, grandfather has been stuck at this bottleneck for a long time. With these pills, grandfather should be able to advance in rank. Really? The other 4 brothers were all excited when they heard this. Grandfather, are these really pills that help one advance in rank? Sima Yuren asked. Sima Lai nodded. These pills had been lost for a long time. He did not know who Sima Yuyue had saved at the Pu Luo mountain range. They actually had these pills. That's great. Sima Yuren waved the fan in his hand. If grandfather can advance in rank, we won't have to worry about the Nalan clan coming to find trouble. What happened to the Nalan clan? Sima Yuyue asked, did anything happen in the 4 months that I wasn't around? Actually, nothing much happened. Sima Yuran said, "It's just that the old ancestor of the Nalan clan recently advanced in rank, the same as grandfather. The Nalan clan usually goes against us, but because they are not as strong as grandfather, they usually restrain themselves a little. However, ever since their old ancestor advanced in rank, they have become extremely arrogant. Their buttocks are about to reach the heavens. Now, as long as grandfather can advance in rank and suppress them once again, we'll see if they can still be so arrogant." Sima Yula said. The Nalan clan. Sima Yula touched her chin, her eyes shining with a different light. "Since we have these pills, grandfather should advance in rank quickly." Sima Yuqi said. I'll go to the palace tomorrow to ask for leave from the emperor. After that, I'll come back and begin my closed-door cultivation." Sima Lai said, "During this period of time, you have to be careful of any movements from the Nalan clan." "We will. Grandfather, you can relax and go into closed-door cultivation." Sima Yuran said. "Fifth bro, now that you're back, do you still want to go to the sect?" Sima Yulu asked. "Your teacher, Feng Xing, has always been worried about you. He comes every 2 days to ask about your situation." Teacher Feng? Sima Yuyue never thought that he would actually be so concerned about her. After thinking about it, she said, "I'll wait for grandfather to finish his closed-door cultivation before going to the sect. I still have some things that I want to do at home. Then tell me who harmed you. I'll take revenge for you." Sima Yula said. Chapter 49. Teacher Feng, please have a seat. Sima Yuyue smiled and waved her hand, saying, "Grandfather has something to do, and my brothers are also busy, so I will be the one to entertain you today." When did you come back?" Feng Zhixing quickly gathered his thoughts and sat down on the chair, looking at Sima Yuyue who was sitting opposite him. "I just came back last night." Sima Yuyue said. "Where have you been these days?" Feng Zhixing picked up the tea that the servant girls served, using the lid of the teacup, but did not drink. "That teleportation array sent me to a mountain range very far away, then because of some matters, I was delayed outside for a while." Sima Yuyue smiled, saying, "I heard that teacher Feng was very worried about me. I am really grateful for your concern. It's good that you came back safely." Feng Zhixing heard Sima Yuyue's reply, then picked up the teacup and took a sip, then placed the blanket on the table, asking, "Then when do you plan to go back to the academy?" "There are some matters at the general's residence these few days, so I want to go back in a few days." "I don't know if I can take a few days off?" Sima Yuyue asked. "Of course you can. I think that you must have suffered a lot during this period of time outside. You should rest well at home for a period of time." Feng Zhixing readily agreed. "Then thank you Teacher Feng." Sima Yuyue said, "Oh right, I asked Teacher Feng to keep the news of my return a secret." "Okay." Feng Zhixing nodded, saying, "Since you are already back, I will go back to the academy first. You can tell me when you want to tell me what happened during this period of time." With that, he stood up and left. Sima Yuyue looked at Feng Zhixing's back, her heart filled with many questions, but she knew that even if she asked him now, he would not tell her the answers. After Feng Zhixing left the general's residence, he turned around and muttered, "She is finally back, and she is much stronger than before. He must have had a fortuitous encounter. Master, this is good. You don't have to worry anymore." A voice sounded in his mind. Don't worry." Sima Yuyue waited for Sima Lai to return and personally escorted him to the secret room. Only when she saw the door of the secret room slowly close did she turn around and leave, returning to her own courtyard. "Young master." Sima Yuyue glanced at her 2 maidservants. When they saw her return last night, they were extremely excited. It was rare that they were not as afraid of her as before. "I'm going to cultivate in my room. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important," Sima Yuyue instructed. Because she had used the interspatial ring in front of them, they knew that she could cultivate. In addition, they were all people who had made an oath to her, so she didn't plan to hide it from them. After all, he was someone close to her. It would be more convenient for her to do things after knowing. Yes. Sima Yu returned to her house and locked the door. Then, she flashed into the spirit pearl. Little spirit. What? Little spirit appeared in the air. Where's the spirit stone from last time? Sima Yu thought of the spirit stone that little spirit kept in the soul pearl and wanted to study it to see if it could help her soul. I thought you weren't interested in this thing. Little spirit finished speaking and a piece of black stone appeared in front of them. Sima Yu caught the spirit stone and said, "This is the thing that trapped us in the soul bewitching array for so long?" Yes. Little spirit nodded. Then will this thing be beneficial to my soul? Sima Yu asked. Originally it could, but now it can't. Little spirit said. Why? Because there's already a spirit living inside. Little spirit said. A spirit living inside? Sima Yu held the spirit stone high and squinted her eyes to look at it for a while. She didn't find anything special about it. Stupid, I already said it's a spirit. How can you see it like this? Little spirit said. Then how do you know there's a spirit inside? Sima Yu asked puzzledly. I'm the king of the spirit stones. I'm naturally sensitive to spirits. There's a spirit living inside this stone, of course I know. Little spirit said. All right. Sima Yu held the spirit stone in her hand and said, this means that there's a spirit that got here first. So I can't use this now. More or less. Little spirit said, but even forming a contract with me can't completely restore your soul. These two stones won't be of much use to you. Then what kind of spirit is living inside? Sima Yu shook the stone, trying to shake the spirit inside awake. How would I know? He hasn't come out since he came in. Little spirit crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at Sima Yu's actions. He couldn't help but roll his eyes. Hey, the person inside. If you're awake, come out and show your face. Sima Yu shouted at the spirit stone. No one answered. If you don't come out, I'll throw you away. Still, no one answered. All right then. Ling Long, Sima Yu placed the stone on the ground and called Ling Long out. Master, you're called Ling Long. Do you miss Ling Long? Ling Long said excitedly the moment she appeared. I want you to transform into a weapon. Sima Yu said. What weapon? A hammer. Ling Long's mouth twitched. She wanted her to transform into a hammer. After a moment, a hammer appeared in Sima Yu's hand. Looking at her ugly appearance, Ling Long wailed in her heart, does this brat really know how to use weapons? Why does she always want me to transform into such a weapon? Sima Yu took the hammer and knocked on the spirit stone, saying, if you don't come out, I'll break this stone. Let's see how you're going to stay here. After saying that, she raised the hammer up high. Just as she was about to hit it, a shout was heard, stop. Oh, you're finally willing to speak. When Sima Yu heard his voice, she laughed evilly and said, your voice is indeed a little scary, but this lord isn't scared. I'll count to 3, if you don't come out, I'll break it. 3, 2, 1. Just as she was about to attack, a red fog blocked her movements. Following that, the fog turned into a faint human figure. He had handsome features and a slender body. He looked like he was in his 20s. He had fiery red hair and fiery red clothes. Even his sharp eyes were red. He looked like a demon. Oh my God, who is this? He's like a ball of fire. Sima Yu was shocked by the person who appeared in front of her. Chapter 50. Sima Yu felt as if she was frozen in place after being stared at by the man. The aura emanating from his body was many times more powerful than Wu Lingyu, who had recovered his strength. Sima Yu calmed herself down and knocked on the spirit stone with her hammer, saying, I've been brave since I was young. But from what you said just now, you're not human? I'm a noble demon, how can I be a lowly human like you? The man said. Demon? Sima Yu picked up the spirit stone and stood up. She sized him up and said, "You don't look like a human or a ghost. You don't look like a human at all. I didn't expect you to be a demon. But how did the demon race end up here? And how did they end up here?" Humph. Hearing the sarcasm in Sima Yu's words, the man turned his head to the side. "What's your name?" Sima Yu asked. "Ignore, I can't always call you, hey, right? Or give you a name like kitten or puppy." Sima Yu said. The man's mouth twitched, saying, "Mo Sha. Mo Sha. It really does sound like a demon's name." Sima Yu said. "You were the one who set up the illusion array?" Silence. There was no denial. "Seems like it." Sima Yu said, "I'm a person who always takes revenge. You trapped me in the illusion array for so long, how do you think we should settle this debt?" As she spoke, she used her hammer to knock on the spirit stone in her hand. Mo Sha looked at Sima Yu's actions and his gaze darkened. He suppressed his anger and said, "How do you want to settle this? You're able to live in this small stone, so you should be a powerful person. Why don't you give me some benefits?" Sima Yu said shamelessly. Mo Sha looked at Sima Yu for a long time, as if he wanted to see through her inside and out. After a long time, he said, "If you want benefits, that's not impossible. But you have to promise me one thing." "What is it?" Sima Yu asked. "Before I find my physical body, I want to stay here." Mo Sha said. "No problem." Sima Yu nodded. This spirit pearl was so big that it wouldn't be a problem to store as many of these stones as possible. "I'm not done yet," Mo Sha said. "Then you can continue." Sima Yu rubbed her chin and looked at him, thinking about what benefits he could give her. "You have to help me find my physical body," Mo Sha faintly said. F***CKU. Sima Yu could not help but scold, "The world is so big, where am I going to find your body? I don't even know how to get to the demon realm. My physical body might not be in the devil realm." Mo Sha said. "Why?" Sima Yu asked. "At that time, my soul was forcefully separated. Half of it entered here and the other half was reborn." Mo Sha said, "But the reborn me might not be a demon. Then I don't know where to find it." Sima Yu said. "Even if you can't find it, you still have to find it. If I ask you to do something, I will naturally give you sufficient rewards." Mo Sha said. "First tell me what good stuff it is and see if it can tempt me to agree." Sima Yu's eyes turned as she said. "Imperial beast art." Mo Sha said faintly. "Imperial beast art?" Little Spirit shouted from the side, "That's a good thing. Master, you have to agree. It's just an imperial beast art. Although beast tamers are rare, I don't necessarily need this thing to become a beast tamer. But I have to do so many things. It's not worth it." Sima Yu shook her head and said. "That imperial beast art is something from the ancient times." Mo Sha said. "Something from the ancient times?" Sima Yu narrowed her eyes at Mo Sha, saying, "So what? Are you stupid? The beast tamers nowadays only use the simple beast taming art to tame spirit beasts. The beast taming art is 100 times more powerful than that." Little Spirit pulled Sima Yu to the side and said, "My previous owner wanted to look for this imperial beast art, but he couldn't find it even when he died. Is this thing really that good?" Sima Yu was in disbelief. "Of course," Little Spirit said with certainty, "the most important thing is that this imperial beast art was lost a long time ago. Now, it's simply impossible to find." Mo Sha looked at Sima Yu and Little Spirit who were muttering at the side. He frowned and said, "Hurry up and make a decision." "All right then." Sima Yu hugged Little Spirit and rubbed him twice before saying, "Then we'll do as you say, deal." "All right." Just as he finished speaking, Mo Sha instantly floated in front of Sima Yue. Taking advantage of her unpreparedness, he planted a kiss on her lips. What are you doing? Although there was no physical contact, Sima Yue still took a step back and glared at Mo Sha. Making a promise. Mo Sha said, it's a method unique to the demon race. Then you don't have to be like this. Sima Yue said with a black face. I'm just a spirit right now. That's all I can do. Mo Sha said. Sima Yue couldn't vent her anger. She could only forcefully wipe her lips. Because of this, her lips became even more red and attractive. What about the imperial beast art you were talking about? She glared daggers at Mo Sha and asked. Mo Sha glanced at her red lips and flashed into the spirit, saying, place the spirit stone on your forehead. Sima Yue did as he said. The moment the spirit stone touched her forehead, she felt as if something had drilled into her brain, causing her head to hurt. It took her a long time to recover. You bastard, you definitely did it on purpose. She held her forehead and said. Master, quickly take a look at that imperial beast art. Little spirit said. Okay. Sima Yue closed her eyes. She only felt that her brain suddenly had a lot of information that she didn't have before. It was as if there was a book in her sea of consciousness. On it, the 3 words Imperial Beast Art were shining in golden light. She sorted out the information and found that this thing was indeed quite awesome. The most amazing thing was that the spirit beasts that were tamed using the Imperial Beast Art and contracted with their master would both increase their strength. Furthermore, when the master advanced in rank, the spirit beast would also advance in rank. Damn, it can actually advance in rank. I've never heard of this before. Sima Yue exclaimed after reading it. This imperial beast art was very simple. It was the same for any spirit beast. However, because taming a spirit beast required a large amount of spiritual energy, she had to increase her spiritual energy to be able to tame higher-ranked spirit beasts. With this thing, I'll go and catch a spirit beast to try next time. Sima Yue said happily. Don't forget our promise. Mo Sha said from the spirit stone. Got it. Sima Yue curled her lips and said, you even have this kind of ancient item and can live in this small stone for so many years. You must have been a very powerful person when you were alive. Why don't you tell me your identity so that I can follow your identity to find him? When I meet him, I'll naturally sense it. When the time comes, I'll naturally tell you. After speaking, he didn't say anything else and the spirit stone also stopped emitting a dim light. Sima Yue threw the spirit stone to little spirit and said, help me keep it. Chapter 51. Little spirit, I remember you once said that you had a master who was a pill master, right? Sima Yue asked as she hugged little spirit. That's right, a long time ago. Why? Little spirit asked. I want to learn how to refine pills. Do you know where the books on refining pills are? Sima Yue asked. You want to learn how to refine pills? Then won't I have a lot of pills to eat in the future? Little spirit's eyes lit up when he heard Sima Yue's words. You like to eat pills? Sima Yue asked. That's right. Little spirit nodded and said, the pills left behind by the previous master have all been eaten by me. That's why there aren't any pills in the spirit pearl. Sima Yue was still puzzled. Since the previous master was a pill master, why was there not a single pill in the spirit pearl? So it turned out that this guy had eaten all of them. Master, I'll bring you to find the books. Little spirit said as he pulled Sima Yue and disappeared from the spot. In the blink of an eye, they appeared in a room. Master, here are all books on refining pills. They were all collected by the previous master. I once heard him say that many of these books were from ancient times. There are also many lost pill recipes. Little spirit said as he pointed to the books in the room. Sima Yue looked at the books in the room. It was filled to the brim with books. Even if it wasn't 10,000 books, there were at least 1,000 books. There are so many books. Do you know which ones are for beginners? Sima Yue asked. Little Spirit shook his head. He had never read these books before, so how would he know? Oh, right. Little Spirit thought of something and suddenly disappeared from the room. When he reappeared, there was a pill furnace in his hand. Master, this is the pill furnace left behind by the previous master. After you read the books, you can use this pill furnace to refine pills. If you need any medicinal ingredients, you can find them outside. The previous master collected many types of medicinal ingredients and I have kept them all. It was the first time that Little Spirit was so passionate towards her. Sima Yue's mouth twitched. This guy seemed to have a special love for pills. Looking at the bookshelves in the room, she decided to find some books for beginners first. Hence, she read through all the books in the room and took out all the books suitable for beginners, then took a table and started reading. But it was these 3 steps that stumped tens of thousands of spirit masters. Refining was to extract the essence of all the medicinal herbs. To do this, one must be careful and patient. This step seemed simple, but every kind of medicinal pill had its own fusion sequence. When to fuse what medicinal herbs were fused, this was all very particular. It wasn't as simple as pouring all the essences together. Moreover, if he didn't control it well, it was very likely that the furnace would explode. Not only would the medicinal herbs be wasted, the alchemist might also be in danger. If the first 2 steps were successful, but if he couldn't form his core, then the most he could make would be a medicine. Although medicine also had an effect, compared to medicinal pills, the effect was 1,000 times worse. Forming the core was to wait for all the essences to fuse. Then, one had to channel their spiritual power into the pill furnace and condense the medicine into a pill. This step tested one's spiritual power. If one did not control it well, all their previous efforts would be wasted. Although pill refining seemed simple, there were very few people who could become pill masters. There were 2 important factors in pill refining: pill furnace and fire. Pill furnaces were easy to use. The better the pill furnace, the higher the success rate of pill refining. As for fire, there were several types. The fire of firewood, the life flame of spirit beasts, strange fire, and spirit fire. The first type was needless to say. The second type was the life flame of spirit beasts. When refining pills, the spirit beast would assist. Because of the contract, the master could quickly order the spirit beast to control the size of the flame. If it was a life contract, the master could even directly control the spirit beast's life flame. This was the flame that most pill masters used. However, this flame's level was not high and the contracted spirit beast had to be a fire attribute spirit beast. The third type of flame was strange fire. This type of flame was born from heaven and earth and had spirituality. If one could subdue it, the success rate of pill refining would greatly increase. However, subduing this type of strange fire was very difficult. This was because one had to absorb the strange fire into one's body and refine it. If one was not careful, one would be devoured by the strange fire and be burned to death. There was not much information about the 4th type of flame. Perhaps it was because this type of flame was too mysterious. After Sima Yue finished reading the steps of pill refining, she realized that this was really a work of endurance. Fortunately, although she lacked money and men in her previous life, she never lacked patience. Thus, she began to learn the first step of pill refining. She memorized the method and steps described in the book in her heart. Then, she eagerly ran to the medicinal field to find a few medicinal herbs. When she arrived at the pill refining room, she took out the pill furnace that Little Spirit had found before and began to practice in seclusion. After 2 days, Sima Yue went out to dig for herbs. Other than that, she spent the rest of her time in the pill refining room. For a moment, the room was filled with sounds of banging and banging. The spirit beasts and the spirit pearl all ran outside the pill refining room and waited. Master, can you refine pills? Yiguang looked at the pill refining room and asked. Of course. Little Roar, who was rolling on Yiguang's body, heard Yiguang's question and said with certainty. Little Yu Yu is so smart, she will definitely be able to refine them. Ling Long's body floated in the air with her legs crossed and her hands behind her head as if she was sleeping on a bed. You must succeed. Then I will have a lot of sweet dough to eat. Little Spirit said. Sweet dough? It's pills. I used to call them sweet dough. Little Spirit said. Pang, just as Little Spirit and the others were talking, an explosion came from the pill refining room. They were so scared that they quickly ran in to take a look. Yu Yu, are you alright? Little Roar took the lead to enter and saw that the room was filled with smoke. Sima Yoyue's figure was faintly discernible in the smoke. Master, what happened? Yiguang and the others also rushed in and saw the residue at the door and asked. The smoke in the room slowly dispersed, revealing a messy room. Not only on the table, the floor, even the walls were filled with medicinal dregs that were scattered everywhere due to the explosion. Sima Yuyue stood in the middle of the room. In the instant of the explosion, she protected her face, but her hair was blown up into an afro and her clothes were torn into rags. Ao, I'm so sad. Little Spirit looked at the scene in the room and shouted. What happened, Little Spirit? The others looked at Little Spirit in puzzlement. Other people would only explode when they were fusing the ingredients. However, Master's furnace exploded when she was refining the herbs. This means that she is not a pill material. My sweet dough is gone. I'm so sad. Little Spirit said dejectedly. Chapter 52. Hearing Little Spirit's painful wail, she rolled her eyes at him and said, Who told me that the furnace exploded during the refining process? Little Spirit caught the meaning behind Sima Yoyue's words and immediately flashed in front of her. His eyes lit up as he looked at her in disbelief and asked, If the furnace didn't explode during the refining process, then could it be that you were fusing the ingredients? That's right. Sima Yuyue wiped her face and smeared the only clean part of her face. How is that possible? You've only studied the refining process for a few days. How did you advance to the next step? Little Spirit said, I heard from the previous alchemist master that an average person can master the steps of refining within a month. Being able to enter the beginner's realm is already not bad. At that time, his innate talent was extremely good, but it still took him 20 days to master the refining method. In such a short time, how could you, others take that long? Sima Yuyue was slightly surprised. Refining the ingredients is very simple. I only used 2 days to master it. 2 days. The beasts in the house all cried out in surprise. 2 days to master it. Thinking about how Little Spirit said that others would need a month, a few pairs of eyes looked at her as if they were looking at a monster. That's right. On the second day after I entered, I had already refined the first bottle of essence. After that, I spent the rest of the time repeatedly practicing. Sima Yuyue shrugged her shoulders and said, After that, when I was studying the pill formula, I realized that the ingredients that I had refined before could be used to refine a type of pill. So I wanted to try it out. Everything was fine before, but when I was refining the last 2 ingredients, the furnace exploded. At this moment, Little Spirit was so excited that he couldn't speak. Only by fiercely hugging Sima Yoyue's shoulders could he express his excitement. After a long time, he said, I thought that you were a trash in refining pills. So you're actually a genius. No, you're a genius, ha 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 ha. This way, I'll have candy to eat in the future. This is great. Sima Yoyue's mouth twitched. Did this guy think that she was a candy production machine? Alright, let's go down first. I'll clean this place up and take a shower. Then, I'll come back to investigate why the furnace exploded. Sima Yuyue said. No need, I'll clean up here. Little Spirit said with a flattering smile, You just have to take a bath and think about the reason for the explosion. Of course, she was happy that someone was willing to help her. Thus, she asked him to get her a bathtub and happily took a bath. What went wrong? In the bathroom prepared by Little Spirit, Sima Yuyue was soaking in the bathtub. She leaned her head against the edge of the bathtub and looked at the ceiling. Her steps were definitely correct, and the order of putting the essence of the herbs was also correct. She was very sure of these 2 points, so the problem definitely did not lie in these 2 places. If that's the case, then it should be about the purity of the medicinal herbs and the control of the furnace's temperature. Sima Yue murmured, "It seems that I have to strengthen the practice of refining and control the temperature of each step of refining pills." After taking a bath, Sima Yue went to the pill refining room again. Seeing that the room had been cleaned up, she sighed at Little Spirit's quick actions. However, she forgot that this place was originally inside the Spirit Pearl. Little Spirit only needed to use his brain and this place would be restored to its original state. This time, she did not start immediately. Instead, she took out a pill refining book and read it. She repeatedly compared her refining steps to see if she had any shortcomings. After confirming that there were no problems, she began to refine the medicinal herbs. When she slowly calmed down, she found that the purity of her refining had increased by a lot. "Master, there's movement outside." Little Spirit suddenly appeared and said to Sima Yue. "Is grandfather coming out of seclusion?" Sima Yue asked. In order to prevent anything from happening, she asked Little Spirit to pay attention to the movements outside when she was studying pill refining again. "It should be." Little Spirit said, "I feel that the spirit chi outside is a little abnormal. It feels like someone is advancing in rank." When Sima Yue heard this, she put down the half-refined medicinal herbs in her hands and with a thought, she went outside. She opened the door and saw her 2 servant girls guarding outside her door. She asked, "Why are you 2 here?" In reply to young master, "We thought that since you haven't come out for so many days, you might be cultivating inside. In order to not let anyone disturb you, we waited here." Sima Yue did not expect that they would still be so dutiful even though her predecessor had treated them so badly. She said, "Okay, I'm out now. You can all go and rest." After speaking, she went to Sima Lai's study room and found the entrance to the tunnel. She slowly groped her way down. When she reached the outside of the secret room, Sima Yue did not continue but stood guard here. Ever since her body was transformed by Qi Yen, she was much more sensitive to the spirit Qi in the air. Perhaps the people outside did not notice the changes in the spirit Qi in the air, but she could feel the endless fire spirit Qi gathering in the secret room. After half an hour, Sima Yue felt the flow of spirit Qi slowing down. She knew that her advancement had ended. Sure enough, very quickly, the door of the secret room slowly retreated into the walls on both sides. Sima Lai walked out from inside. "Grandfather." Sima Yue went up to him and said with a smile, "Congratulations grandfather for advancing to another level." "Haha, this is all thanks to those 2 pills of yours." Sima Lai did not expect Sima Yue to be waiting for him here. He was stunned for a moment before he laughed loudly. "How did you know that I was coming out?" "I felt the spirit Qi in the air and guessed that grandfather had advanced successfully. That's why I came to pick grandfather up." Sima Yue said with a smile. "You can feel the spirit Qi when I advanced?" Sima Lai was a little surprised. If others could feel it too, then wouldn't it be impossible for him to hide the fact that he had advanced? "Grandfather, don't worry. No one else could feel it." Sima Yue said, "Before I came in, I asked Little Roar to set up a barrier. No one else could feel it." "Little Roar?" "It's me, grandfather." Little Roar came down from the secret passage and floated in front of Sima Lai with an expression that said, "Hurry up and praise me." Sima Lai was shocked. What kind of spirit beast was this? Not only could it speak, it could also set up a barrier. Previously when he saw Sima Yue hugging it, he thought that it was a spirit pet that she had bought outside. Although Little Roar doesn't have any fighting ability now, he can still set up a barrier. Sima Yue said, "So grandfather, you don't have to worry." She had asked Little Roar to set up a barrier around the study room after she entered the secret passage so that no one outside could feel the changes in the general's residence. Before this, she had thought it through. It was better to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger than to show off. Just like herself in the 21st century, if she was not too powerful in the organization, she would not have been harmed by the second in command. All right, grandfather, let's go out now. I think that brother and the others will be happy to know that you have advanced. Sima Yuyue held on to Sima Lai's arm and the two of them walked out of the secret passage. Chapter 53. At night, Sima Yuyue was so happy that she cooked a table full of dishes for everyone. When she came out of the kitchen, she saw the four of them sitting at the table looking at her in shock. She was stunned for a moment before she realized that she was too happy and had forgotten that the original owner of this body did not know how to cook. The last time she said that she would teach a chef how to cook, they thought that she only knew the theory from hearsay. This time, she was the one who personally took the knife and spatula. Fifth bro, when did you learn how to cook? Sima Yulu was the first to ask. Sima Yuyue went to her seat and sat down, saying, "Didn't I live in Pu Luo mountain range for a few months? At that time, I could only cook by myself, so I learned how to cook." Hearing Sima Yuyue say this, everyone looked at her with heartache. They thought that she must have suffered a lot in Pu Luo mountain range to be able to learn such a complicated thing like cooking. Sima Yuyue saw everyone's expression and felt a little guilty. She only wanted to gloss over the fact that she knew how to cook, but she did not think that she would cause them to feel heartache. She smiled and said, "All right, let's eat quickly. It won't taste good when it gets cold. Let's eat. Let's try fifth bro's cooking. Oh, it's so delicious. Come, let's toast to grandfather. Congratulations on his advancement. This is all thanks to the advancement pill that Yu brought back." When they talked about Sima Lai's advancement, everyone was in high spirits. They ate and drank until late at night. "Grandfather, I want to go to the academy tomorrow." After dinner, Sima Yuyue said. "You can decide on your own matters." Sima Lai patted Sima Yuyue's head. "When you go to the academy, do you want to find the person who harmed you to take revenge?" Sima Yuyue nodded and said, "I'm not the kind of person who will ask you if your hand hurts after you slap me. If you want to harm me, you must be prepared to receive my revenge. No matter what you want to do, grandfather will support you. If you need anything from grandfather and your brothers, just say the word." Sima Lai said. I will." Sima Yuyue said with a smile. She looked in the direction of the academy with a devilish smile on her lips. She wondered how those people who thought she was dead would react when they saw her. After returning to her courtyard, Sima Yuyue shut herself in her room to cultivate. Although she really wanted to refine pills, she also knew that more haste, less speed. She didn't have enough practice in refining medicinal herbs. If she rashly tried to fuse them, she would only end up with the same fate as last time. Even if she managed to refine a potion or pill, the effect wouldn't be very good. Furthermore, the most important thing for her right now was to cultivate. Little Roar had said that she might be able to recover her memories when she reached the divine rank. She had only just become a spirit master, so she didn't know how long it would take for her to reach the divine rank. She had to make good use of her time. In the first month after Sima Yuyue's disappearance, everyone in the Capital Institute was still discussing the matter. They were guessing when the general's residence would come looking for trouble with the institute. But he didn't expect that not even a shadow of a person had come to the general's residence. More than a month later, everyone gradually lost interest in this matter. Very few people still remembered that trash. On this day, after the morning class, everyone ate lunch and went back to their own homes. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi returned. When they saw that the door was unlocked, they thought that Ouyang Fei or Bei Gong Tang had returned first. These two fellows, they ran away after class. I didn't see them in the canteen just now. So they rushed back. Fatty Chu said. Yeah, ever since we ate the food that Yuyue cooked for us, we feel that the food in the canteen is disgusting. Wei Ziqi's face darkened when he mentioned Sima Yuyue. Yuyue, she. Fatty Chu's voice was a little hoarse. If there was anyone in the institute who would still talk about Sima Yuyue, it would probably only be the two of them. What are you guys standing at the door for? Bei Gong Tang's cold voice came from behind them, interrupting their grief. Wei Ziqi turned around and looked at Bei Gong Tang, saying, "You didn't go in? We thought that you had already gone back." "No, I went to the library." Bei Gong Tang took 2 steps forward and looked at the two of them suspiciously. Then, she pushed the door open and went in. When will this Bei Gong Tang learn to smile? Every time I see her, she's always so cold. Fatty Chu sighed. Yeah, she'll definitely be beautiful when she smiles. Wei Ziqi said. Are you guys here as door gods? Ouyang Fei walked over from behind. Seeing that the two of them were standing at the door and not going in, he said something and entered the courtyard. After living here for a period of time, although they still didn't like to talk, they weren't as cold as when they first met. Sigh, this fellow, really. Fatty Chu was halfway through his sentence when he suddenly turned around to look at Wei Ziqi. He saw that his eyes were also filled with shock. The two of them came back first and thought that the door to the courtyard was opened by Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei. However, looking at it now, the two of them came back after them. Then, the only one who could use the key to open the door was Sima Yue. That meant that she came back. The two of them hurriedly entered the courtyard. The moment they entered, they saw Ouyang Fei standing in the courtyard and Bei Gong Tang standing in front of Sima Yue's door. The door that had always been tightly shut was actually open today. They saw Sima Yue poke her head out of the house and smiled at the four of them. You're all back. I'm just cleaning the house. No one has lived here for so long, so there's a thick layer of dust. Fatty Chu pointed at Sima Yue and couldn't say a complete sentence. You, when did you come back? Sima Yue poked her entire body out and giggled, I just came back. Fatty Chu, you don't have classes in the afternoon, right? Come and help me clean up the house. After that, she looked at Bei Gong Tang and the other two and said, this house is too dirty. Moreover, it seems like it was smashed by someone. It's very messy. Why don't you guys come over and sit after I'm done cleaning up? The four of them finally reacted. Wei Ziqi rolled up his sleeves and walked over, saying, since it's very messy, let's all help out. Yes, I'll help too. Fatty Chu said as he walked over. Sima Yue saw that Wei Ziqi had taken the initiative to help and smiled, alright, with your help, we can finish cleaning up even faster. However, what made her more surprised was that Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang had also come in to help. Although the two of them still had cold faces, she thought that the two of them had facial paralysis, so she was very surprised that they had come to help. You really look like someone had barged in. Fatty Chu said as he looked at the messy house. The five of them cleaned up together and very quickly, the house was tidied up. After that, Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi sat together, Ouyang Fei leaned on the table and Bei Gong Tang leaned against the door. The four of them looked at her together. Chapter 54. How did you end up in the fourth teleportation array? Bei Gong Tang asked, hitting the nail on the head. Sima Yue smiled and took a sip of tea, saying, someone pushed me in. You're saying someone wanted to harm you? Fatty Chu jumped up, who is it? Let's go find her. Wei Ziqi pulled Fatty Chu down to sit, saying, what's the rush? Let's hear what Yue has to say. Mengting. Ouyang Fei looked at Sima Yue. The only one who had a grudge with her was Mengting. It was no wonder that everyone had forgotten about her. Sima Yue shook her head, saying, it's not her. Not her? Then who would want to harm you? Fatty Chu said, I heard from others that very few people who went in came out alive. Thinking back to the skeletons she saw in the illusion array, it was true that they did not return. And if they were sent to Pu Luo mountain range like her, their chances of survival would be even slimmer. There are many people who want to harm me. Sima Yue said, but I believe that the person who pushed me in was not the mastermind. They were just instructed by someone else. What I want to find is the person behind them. The person behind them? Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yuyue. When the time comes, I might need your help, Sima Yuyue said. Bei Gong Tang replied simply, then turned around and left. Ouyang Fei also nodded and left. Sima Yuyue watched the two of them leave and sighed. The two of them are still so cold and arrogant. That's already much better. At least they came to help you clean up and care about you. If it was before, I'm afraid that the two of them would have directly returned to their rooms and ignored the outside world. Wei Ziqi said. I was also surprised that the two of them stayed behind to help me clean up. Sima Yuyue said, but how did my room become like this? It looks like it's been destroyed. It's a little strange. Fatty Chu said, after you got into trouble, we didn't enter your house, so we didn't notice that your house was in such a state. Did you lose anything? I lost a few decorations, Sima Yuyue said. Then it should be when we went to class and someone barged in, Wei Ziqi said. Yes, the things that were lost were not very valuable, Sima Yuyue said. Yuyue, you're back. You'll definitely surprise the people who harmed you. Fatty Chu rubbed his palms together, thinking about the expressions on the faces of those people who saw Sima Yuyue going out. He was extremely excited. Yes, I want to see their expressions too. Sima Yuyue smiled. Oh right, does Teacher Feng know about your return? Wei Ziqi asked. He probably doesn't know that I've returned to the academy. Sima Yuyue thought of Feng Zhixing and smiled. Grandfather said that he was always concerned about her. Even if his actions were a little strange, now that she thought about it, he didn't have any bad intentions. I'll go to the office to look for him in the afternoon. Alright, then you rest first. We'll go back first. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi stood up and left together. Little Roar, who had been lying quietly on the table, opened his eyes and looked at Sima Yuyue, saying, these four people are really concerned about you. How do you know? Little Roar stretched his body and said, who am I? I'm a divine roar, an auspicious beast. I'm the most sensitive to human emotions. Sima Yuyue smiled. She also felt it. This time, when she came back, their eyes were filled with shock and joy. Their first reaction was from the bottom of their hearts. Even Bei Gong Tang had a flash of joy. Let's go upstairs and rest. After that, we'll go look for Teacher Feng. After she finished speaking, she picked up Little Roar from the table and went upstairs. There were no classes in the afternoon. Fatty Chu and the others were cultivating in their own rooms. Sima Yuyue went to Feng Zhixing's office alone. Knock knock, Feng Zhixing was meditating when he heard a knock on the door. He opened his eyes and said faintly, come in. Sima Yuyue pushed the door open and entered. She bowed to Feng Zhixing and said, Teacher Feng, I'm here to report. You're preparing to come back to class? Feng Zhixing looked at Sima Yuyue and smiled as he gestured for her to sit on a chair at the side. Yes, I've already settled the matters at home. That's why I'm back to class. Sima Yuyue looked at the chair and chose to continue standing. When she faced Feng Zhixing, she always had the feeling of looking up at Mount Tai. She knew that the person in front of her was very strong. As her strength increased, this feeling became stronger and stronger. Okay, then we'll start classes as usual tomorrow. Feng Zhixing nodded and did not say anything else. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first, Sima Yuyue said. Wait a moment. Feng Zhixing stopped her. The principal knows that you're back and is curious about where you were sent to. He wants you to go see him after you're back. Come with me. After Feng Zhixing finished speaking, he brought Sima Yuyue to the principal's office. This was Sima Yuyue's first time meeting the principal. Sima Lai told her that he was good friends with the principal and that she could look for him if she needed anything. Thus, in her impression, the principal should be someone similar to Sima Lai. But when she met him, she realized that the principal was completely different from her grandfather. Sima Lai had the aura of a soldier, giving people an invisible sense of oppression. This principal, on the other hand, gave people a kind of undisciplined feeling, like the wind without any restraints. The principal looked at Sima Yuyue and was not surprised. He only calmly asked her a few questions about the time she was missing. Sima Yuyue simply said that she was sent to the Pu Luo mountain range. But she was in danger and was saved by a group of people. Then, she followed them around the periphery for a few months. Feng Zhixing and the principal did not question her words, but they did not believe her either. They only wanted to see her return safely. After leaving the principal's office, Sima Yuyue was still thinking about how Feng Zhixing patted her head when she left. That feeling was as if he was caressing his own junior. Because she was lost in thought, she did not notice the front. When she left the office, she bumped into someone who was rushing in. "Io, who's so blind? Do you want to die?" The person who was bumped into shouted at her. After seeing clearly that it was her, she said in shock, It's you?" Sima Yuyue looked at Hichioji, who had become arrogant after not seeing her for a few months. She thought of how carefully Hichioji was behind Meng Ting. This change was quite big. Chapter 55. It's really you? Many of the students from Class A were outside the door and were surprised to see Sima Yuyue standing there. "You're really back alive. I knew you wouldn't die." Meng Ting glanced at Sima Yuyue. Although her words were not pleasant to hear, Sima Yuyue could hear the concern in her voice. This girl was actually concerned about her? So she wasn't the one who asked Hichioji to harm her? She glanced at Hichioji, who was beside her, and Hichioji subconsciously took a step back, thinking that she was going to expose her. However, Sima Yuyue smiled meaningfully at her and ignored her. She looked at the others and asked, "Why are you all here?" "We're here to draw lots." Meng Ting replied. "Draw lots?" Seeing Sima Yuyue's puzzled expression, the class monitor Shannon walked over and said, "After a while, we'll start accepting missions from the sect. Go draw lots now and pick your group's mission." Sima Yuyue thought about how Sima Yu ran and Sima Yulu often went on missions and nodded her head in understanding. She asked, "Do I have to go with you to draw lots?" Shannon shook his head and said, "You don't have to draw lots. Your group has already decided which mission it will be. You can go back and ask Wei Ziqi and the others," Shannon said. "Oh, okay." Sima Yuyue nodded. Since he said so, she would go back and ask. "Then I'll go back first. You can go draw lots." After speaking, she glanced at Hichioji, who had been standing silently at the side, and smiled devilishly before walking away. "Let's go to Master Feng's place." Shannon led everyone to Feng Zhixing's office. After everyone left, Hichioji looked at Sima Yuyue's back and thought of the look in her eyes when she left. Her heart was in her throat. She was certain that Sima Yuyue was sure that she was the one who pushed Sima Yuyue when they entered the array. Now that Sima Yuyue saw her and did not expose her, Sima Yuyue must be up to no good. Thinking about the general's residence behind Sima Yuyue, she was so scared that she broke out in cold sweat. If Sima Yuyue came to seek revenge, she would definitely not be able to deal with her. No, he had to look for them to protect him. In just a moment, Hichioji's heart had already turned a few twists and turns. "Chioji, why haven't you come yet?" Meng Ting saw that Hichioji was still standing there and called out. "Coming." Hichioji lifted her skirt and chased after him. Sima Yuyue returned to the courtyard and went straight to Fatty Chu's house. "Fatty Chu, Fatty Chu." Sima Yuyue knocked on Fatty Chu's door as Wei Ziqi opened the door and came out. "What happened?" You didn't go out?" Sima Yuyue looked at Wei Ziqi and said, "It's the same if you're here. I have something to ask you all." Fatty Chu opened the door and rubbed his eyes as he looked at Sima Yuyue and asked, "Yuyue, what's wrong?" Sima Yuyue glanced at Wei Ziqi before entering Fatty Chu's house, with Wei Ziqi following behind. "Seeing you call out so anxiously, did you miss me?" Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yuyue and said with a smile. Now that he was familiar with Sima Yuyue, he knew that she was not as infatuated as the rumors said, so he did not mind joking with her. However, what he did not know was that the rumors were not wrong, but that the soul in her body had changed. Sima Yuyue found a stool and sat down, saying, "When I went to find Teacher Feng just now, I met Shinen and the rest at the entrance of the teaching block. They said that they were going to pick a mission and I asked him for mine. He told me to come back and ask you all. What the hell is going on?" "Oh, you're talking about this. If you didn't mention it, we would have forgotten." Fatty Chu came to Sima Yoyue's side and sat down, saying, "In school, half of the time is spent studying and the other half is spent on practice and cultivation. You know about this, right?" Sima Yuyue nodded her head. "In a month or two, it will be time for us to practice. At that time, we will have to carry out a mission from the school. There are difficult and easy missions, so we have to draw lots to decide." Fatty Chu continued to explain. "Then why don't I need to draw lots?" Sima Yuyue saw that everyone else had gone but she did not and felt that it was a little strange. Cough cough. "Because this mission is divided into groups, one dorm for one group, so you are in our group." Fatty Chu glanced at Wei Ziqi and said apologetically to Sima Yuyue, "Because we didn't know that you were coming back. When Teacher Feng said that we were going to pick a mission, we chose the most difficult mission, which is the only level 1 mission among the first years. So you guys don't need to draw lots, right? And because I am in the same dorm as you guys, I have to carry out this mission with you guys?" Sima Yuyue looked at the two of them and asked. Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu nodded their heads. "This mission is a little dangerous. That, you just came back, so you don't have to follow us." Wei Ziqi thought that Sima Yuyue was blaming them for choosing such a dangerous mission and said tactfully, "Why not?" Sima Yuyue smiled, "Aren't we in the same group? Don't worry, I won't drag you guys down." Seeing the excitement in Sima Yuyue's eyes, Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu looked at each other. Was this guy not afraid of danger? "Oh right, did you tell Teacher Feng about someone trying to harm you?" Fatty Chu thought about how Sima Yuyue said that the person who tried to harm her was from her class and asked casually. "No." Sima Yuyue shook her head, "But I did meet her." "Then did you expose her?" Fatty Chu asked agitatedly. "No." "Why didn't you expose her?" "She wanted to kill you," Fatty Chu shouted. Sima Yuyue looked at Fatty Chu's agitated expression and knew that he was feeling indignant on her behalf. She put her hand on his shoulder and said, "Now is not the time, give her 2 more days. If I were you, I would definitely beat my enemy to death when I see him." Fatty Chu said. "Who exactly pushed you?" Wei Ziqi looked at Sima Yuyue and asked. "In the past few months, has he Qiuji become more high profile?" Sima Yuyue asked. "She was the one who pushed you?" Wei Ziqi asked. Sima Yuyue nodded her head and admitted. "So it was her." Fatty Chu said, "She has been very high profile in the past few months, and I heard that it was because she curried favor with the Nalan family." "The Nalan family?" Sima Yuyue rubbed her chin. "If it was their family, then they naturally had the motive and reason to kill her. Yuyue, the old ancestor of the Nalan family, recently advanced and became a spirit saint. In the past, he was arrogant, but now he is even more arrogant. If it was really them who harmed you, even if your grandfather is the country's general, if you rashly accuse them, I'm afraid it won't have any effect." Fatty Chu was from the capital and was more clear about these matters. "I understand." Sima Yuyue said, "So I have to gather evidence and make the person who harmed me scram before taking action." Chapter 56. If you want them to admit it, I'm afraid it won't be easy. Even if they admit it in front of you and then deny it, there's nothing you can do about it. Fatty Chu said. Sigh, if only there was a tape recorder. Sima Yuyue thought of the tape recorder from her previous life. If there was such a thing, it would be much more convenient. Tape recorder? What's that? It's a type of, weapon that records sound. Sima Yuyue explained, as long as you record the sound inside, you can listen to it again later. You can try a sound stone. Ouyang Fei's voice came from the door. Ouyang, you're here too. Come in and sit. Fatty Chu smiled as he greeted him. Ouyang Fei glanced at Fatty Chu but did not enter, saying, I was just passing by and happened to hear it. You can use a sound stone for this. After he finished speaking, he left. That's right, how could I have forgotten about the sound stone? Wei Ziqi slapped his forehead as he said. What's a sound stone? Sima Yuyue asked. A sound stone is similar to the tape recorder you mentioned. As long as you record the sound, you can release the recorded sound after injecting your spirit energy. Wei Ziqi explained. Really? Then do you have a sound stone? Sima Yuyue asked. A sound stone is very valuable. How could we have one? Wei Ziqi said. Sima Yuyue glanced at Fatty Chu and he shook his head. But you can go to the Xian Yuan Pavilion to take a look. Who knows, there might be one there. That's right, I'll go look for it first. If there isn't one, then we can only think of another way. Sima Yuyue finished speaking and prepared to leave. Let's go together. Anyway, I don't have anything to do. Fatty Chu said. Yeah, I've already finished my homework. Wei Ziqi said. Then let's go together. Sima Yuyue smiled. Hence, the three of them went out together. Bei Gong Tang opened the door after they left and looked towards the door, touching the interspatial ring on her hand. Xian Yuan Pavilion was the capital's largest shop. Inside, there were all kinds of pills, spirit weapons, spirit beasts, and everything. If there was something that Xian Yuan Pavilion did not have, then there was no other place. When Sima Yuyue and the other two entered, the waiter welcomed them warmly. Oh, isn't this fifth young master? I haven't seen you in a long time. I wonder what fifth young master wants to buy this time. The waiter said with a smile. The news of Sima Yuyue going missing from the school was known by the entire capital city. Now that they saw Sima Yuyue here, they were more or less surprised. It was not Sima Yuyue's first time here. In the past, she often came here to look for the things that Murongan liked. She glanced at the general merchandise area and said, I want a sound stone. Sound stone? The waiter didn't think that Sima Yuyue would actually ask for this. He was startled for a moment before saying apologetically, Fifth young master, we don't have sound stones in our store right now. You don't have one? Fatty Chu said, this is the largest store in the Dongchen Kingdom and you don't even have one? The waiter smiled and said, we are the largest store in the Dongchen Kingdom, but this sound stone is really hard to come by. There might not even be one in a few hundred years. Even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. If this world doesn't have it, then we naturally don't have it. But didn't I hear that there was a sound stone before? It seems like the news came from your store. Fatty Chu's information was really fast and accurate. We did have it 2 months ago, but it was bought by someone a month ago. The waiter said. Who bought it? The Nalan clan. The waiter replied. Sima Yuyue and Fatty Chu looked at each other. If this sound stone was bought by someone else, then with Sima Yuyue's status and price, it was possible for her to buy it. However, this sound stone was bought by someone from the Nalan clan. If she wanted to buy it, then the possibility of that was 0. Without the sound stone, the three of them could only return. Yuyue, it's all right. Without the sound stone, we can think of other ways. Fatty Chu comforted her. Yes, it's not that other ways are impossible. It's just that it would be a lot more troublesome. If we had the sound stone, then we could easily chase them out of the academy. Sima Yuyue said. Why don't I send a letter to my family and see if they can help us find it? Wei Ziqi said. No need. It's best if we can get our hands on this sound stone today. After today, even if we find it, it'll be useless. Sima Yuyue said. Why today? Fatty Chu did not understand. Because tonight, He Chiu Ji will be looking for that person. Sima Yue said. Seeing that Fatty Chu and Wei Zi Chi were a little disappointed, she smiled, it's all right. Although tonight is the best opportunity and it would be a pity to miss it, there are still other ways. Don't look so down. Yes, if you need anything, just tell us directly. Fatty Chu said. Okay. I will. Creak dash, Bei Gong Tang's door opened and Bei Gong Tang appeared at the doorway. She looked at the three people in the courtyard and threw something at Sima Yue. After that, she said nonchalantly, I'm hungry. Are you cooking tonight? If you're not, I'm going to the cafeteria. Sima Yue caught the thing that Bei Gong Tang threw at her and realized that it was a small and exquisite stone. From the outside, it looked no different from a normal stone, except that there were some purple veins on it. What is this? She saw that the stone looked pretty good and felt pretty good, so she asked. Sound stone? Wei Zi Chi looked at the stone and said in shock. This is a sound stone. Sima Yue looked at Bei Gong Tang. How did she get this? On the way back, Little Roar said disdainfully that there was nothing in this world. In the place where they used to live, this sound stone was simply something that was thrown on the streets and not picked up. Now, the entire country did not even have one. It was too poor, too poor. Although Sima Yue did not know what the world that Little Roar was talking about was, she knew that there were other places in the Yilin continent. Those places were much better than this place. Yeah, I accidentally got it in the past. Bei Gong Tang explained simply, you haven't said if you're going to cook or not. Sima Yue smiled widely and nodded, saying, I'm going to cook. It's still early now and they won't make any moves. We'll make a move after we've eaten our fill. After she finished speaking, she kept the sound stone in her interspatial ring and went into the kitchen. Because she was used to putting things in her interspatial ring, she forgot that she was still unable to cultivate in their eyes and had no way of using her interspatial ring. Wei Zi Chi and Fatty Chu heard that there was good food and left with Sima Yue. They did not even notice that Sima Yue was already able to cultivate. Chapter 57. After they finished eating, Fatty Chu and Wei Zi Chi stayed behind to clean up. Just as they finished washing the dishes, Sima Yue received news from Little Roar that He Chiu-ji had left the house. It was almost midnight. For He Chiu-ji to leave the house at this time, it was obvious what she was going to do. I'm going out. Sima Yue said to Fatty Chu and the rest. Did He Chiu-ji leave the house? Fatty Chu asked. Sima Yue nodded. Then let's go. Wei Zi Chi said as he took off the aprons that Sima Yue had prepared for them. It was their first time wearing this and the two boys were not used to it. However, they did not want to dirty their clothes. Since they were in their own courtyard, it did not matter. Sima Yue did not say anything and brought the two of them out. Following Little Roar's instructions, the three of them groped their way to the academy's lake. Yue, how did you know they were here? Fatty Chu asked when he saw Sima Yue running towards them. Sima Yue did not reply and Little Roar flew over. Seeing Little Roar, the two of them understood that Sima Yue had sent Little Roar out to spy on He Chiu-ji. Only that bad woman has come out. No one else has come yet. Little Roar reported. Hearing Little Roar speak, the other two stared with their eyes wide open. They had always thought that Little Roar was Sima Yue's pet. Now that they thought about it, it was at least a holy beast. Sima Yue hugged Little Roar and said to Fatty Chu and Wei Zi Chi, let's find a place to hide first. The person behind He Chiu-ji might be here soon. Okay. The three of them saw a fake mountain not far from the pavilion by the lake. They slowly crept behind the fake mountain and waited with He Chiu-ji in the pavilion. He Chiu-ji kept looking out of the pavilion and anxiously paced back and forth. After a while, a figure slowly walked over. Miss Nalan, you finally came. He Chiu-ji saw the person coming and greeted her. Nalan Lan glanced at the anxious Hichoji and walked straight to the pavilion to sit down. Then she asked, "Tell me, why did you call me out so late?" Sima Yuyue never thought that the person behind Hichoji was actually Nalan Lan, the woman who watched the original Sima Yuyue get beaten to death with Murongan. It was obvious that Nalan Lan's appearance had shocked Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi. They had never thought that the person who wanted to harm Sima Yuyue would actually be Nalan Lan, who they had no relations with. "Miss Nalan, I called you out because I had no other choice," Hichoji said as she knelt down. She looked at Nalan Lan and said, "Miss Nalan, save me." Hichoji's words pulled the thoughts of the three people behind the fake mountain back to reality. Sima Yuyue took out the sound stone and poured her spiritual energy into it. When the purple veins on the sound stone felt the spiritual energy, it was as if they were alive. They started to move around the stone, scaring Sima Yuyue so much that she almost threw it away. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi then realized that Sima Yuyue had used her spatial ring. Seeing her use her spiritual energy to move the sound stone, the two of them were even more shocked than when they saw Nalan Lan. "This." Fatty Chu wanted to say something but his mouth was covered by someone. Wei Ziqi shook his head at Fatty Chu, indicating that he should not say anything. Although he was also shocked, if he were to make a sound, it would definitely disrupt Sima Yuyue's plans. Fatty Chu blinked, indicating that he understood. Only then did Wei Ziqi put down his hand. Sima Yuyue looked at Wei Ziqi gratefully before turning around to look at the two people in the pavilion. "Save me?" Nalan Lan looked disdainfully at Hichoji, who was kneeling on the ground. This kind of person did not have any value in her eyes. However, because she had helped her to get rid of Sima Yuyue, she had reluctantly allowed her to follow her. "Tell me, who did you offend this time?" "It's Sima Yuyue. She's back," Hichoji said. "Sima Yuyue?" Hearing Sima Yuyue's name, Nalan Lan was shocked and said, "You're saying that she's back?" "Yes, I saw her in the school building today. She's alive and well, not dead at all." Hichoji thought of the way Sima Yuyue looked at her and shivered. "How can that be? Are you sure it's her?" Seeing that Hichoji did not seem to be lying, she was extremely shocked. "It's really her," Hichoji said with certainty. "Miss Nalan, you said that entering the fourth teleportation array would mean certain death. That was why I believed you and pushed her in. However, she's back now and wants to take revenge on me. That look in her eyes makes people's hair stand. She said that she's going to take my life. Miss Nalan, you have to save me. You were the one who told me to do that." As she said that, she reached out to grab Nalan Lan's clothes, seeking a sense of security. Nalan Lan slapped Hichoji's hand away and said, "What are you panicking for? Even if that trash is back, what can she do to us? She saw me push her into the fourth teleportation array. She'll definitely take revenge on me," Hichoji said. "The school prohibits students from killing each other. Once discovered, you'll be expelled immediately." Nalan Lan was not flustered. "As long as Sima Yuyue doesn't have any evidence, she can't say that we did it. As long as you don't accept when she challenges you, you won't be in danger. Furthermore, would that trash dare to find trouble with you in the school? Don't tell me that you can't even beat a trash. But I'm afraid that she'll use underhanded means," Hichoji said worriedly. "Didn't I say that she won't dare to do anything in the school? Unless she wants to be expelled," Nalan Lan said disapprovingly. "But what if it's outside the school?" Hichoji asked. "Outside? You just have to stay in the school." Nalan Lan said, "You can just stay in the school for this period of time. Aren't you going to carry out the school's mission? Whether or not she can come back alive is still a question. In the future, don't look for me for this kind of thing. She's really a cowardly trash. I don't like people who follow me to be like this. Do you understand?" Without waiting for Hichoji to reply, she stood up and left the pavilion. Hichoji watched as Nalan Lan left. Seeing that she had walked far away, she spat out, "What are you being so arrogant for? Isn't it because you have a family? If not for the Nalan family, you'd be the same as everyone else. If you don't protect me, I'll just expose you when the time comes and we'll all die together. Humph. After Hichoji left, Sima Yuyue stopped inserting spiritual energy into the sound stone. Turning around, she looked at Wei Ziqi and Nalan Lan and said, "With this thing, let's see how they'll quibble when the time comes. I know that you guys have doubts in your hearts. Let's go back and talk about it." Chapter 58. She took out the sound stone and inserted some spirit energy into it before placing it on the table. The purple veins on the sound stone flowed, and very quickly, Hichoji and Nalan Lan's conversation by the lake could be heard. Once the conversation ended, the sound stone dimmed again. This is indeed very mysterious. Sima Yoyue's eyes lit up when she heard it. She never thought that this stone would be so powerful. However, she had another question in her heart. This sound stone was so rare that even Xian Yuan Pavilion did not have it. How did Bei Gong Tang have it? Yuyue, shouldn't you answer our question now? Fatty Chu's voice pulled Sima Yuyue back from her thoughts. She looked at them suspiciously and asked, "What question? Is it the matter of you being able to cultivate?" Fatty Chu glanced at the interspatial ring on her hand. That ring was really unremarkable. If they did not know that it was an interspatial ring, most people would not think that it was an interspatial ring. You can use the interspatial ring and insert spirit energy into the sound stone. This means that you are now a spirit master. That's right, I am now a spirit master. Sima Yuyue admitted. But weren't you unable to cultivate? Wei Ziqi and the others might not know, but Fatty Chu was a native of the capital and knew Sima Yoyue's background. Yeah, I was unable to cultivate in the past. Sima Yuyue said, but when I went missing this time, I had a fortuitous encounter and my blocked meridians were opened. Thus, I was able to cultivate. Really? Fatty Chu's eyes widened. He never thought that her disappearance would actually turn misfortune into fortune. Not only did she come back alive, she could even cultivate. Sima Yuyue nodded her head and said, but it's hard for me to say the specifics. In any case, this is the result. Currently, other than my family, only the two of you know about this. You have to help me keep this a secret. Why? Fatty Chu did not understand. It's a good thing that you can cultivate. Why don't you let others know? If those people knew that you could cultivate, they wouldn't call you trash anymore. I don't care what others say. Sima Yuyue said, but if others know that I can cultivate, I'm afraid there will be some unnecessary trouble. Fatty Chu knew that Sima Yuyue was talking about the Nalan family. The last time he returned home, he had heard that the conflict between the general's residence and the Nalan family had become even more intense. Because they knew that Sima Yuyue was a trash, they hadn't targeted her yet. If they knew that she had the ability to cultivate, they would probably make a move on her. Alright, we definitely won't tell anyone about this. Fatty Chu nodded his head seriously. Wei Ziqi also nodded in agreement. Sima Yuyue smiled and said, thank you both. What are you thanking me for? Wei Ziqi said, we are friends, so of course I have to keep your secret. Originally, I didn't want you to go on this mission because it's a little dangerous. Although you can cultivate now, your level shouldn't be high. If you go, you might be in danger. However, for cultivators, this was a rare opportunity to practice. So you should consider whether you want to go or not. When Sima Yuyue heard Wei Ziqi say that her level wasn't high, she only smiled and didn't refute. His words didn't have any intention of mocking her. Normal people wouldn't think that she could cultivate to such a high level in such a short period of time. Furthermore, he was also thinking for her sake. Since it's a team mission, I naturally have to go. Sima Yuyue said, but don't worry, I won't drag you guys down. We aren't afraid that you'll drag us down, but this mission is dangerous. If we can't take care of you when there's danger, then you might lose your life. Fatty Chu said. I understand. Sima Yue said, I really cherish my life. Don't worry. Since you've decided, that's good. Wei Ziqi didn't say anything else. He looked at Sima Yue and said, then when do you plan to reveal the true faces of these two people? Sima Yue looked at the sound stone on the table and smiled evilly, saying, for this matter, the sooner the better. Otherwise, my eyes will hurt when I look at them. That Nalan clan is indeed rather arrogant in the academy. If you were to cause their clan's genius to be chased out of the academy, they would definitely explode in anger. Fatty Chu beamed as he said. Explode in anger? Sima Yue smiled. It would be good if they exploded in anger. The next day, Sima Yue went to class as usual. On the way, when people saw her, they all stared with wide eyes. Didn't that trash die? Why did he come back? That's right. Didn't they say that no one who entered the fourth teleportation array came back alive? That's what I heard. Then why did that trash come back? Furthermore, looking at his appearance, nothing happened to him. Don't tell me that the teleportation array didn't have any killing power towards trash. Damn, if that's the case, then isn't that trash's luck too good? Even though he was trash, he still managed to save his life. Lower your voice. If he hears you, he'll get the general's people to deal with you. Che, isn't he just relying on the general's support? Alright, let's go, let's go. Just looking at this trash makes me feel bad. The few of them left as they spoke. Sima Yue walked in front of them and heard their words clearly. These people were just jealous because they didn't have a good family background. They felt that it was unfair for trash like her to live in such an environment. When the new students of Class A saw Sima Yue walk into the classroom, they weren't as surprised as the others. After all, many people had seen her yesterday. Sima Yue saw He Qiu Ji the moment she entered the classroom. Seeing that she was also looking over, He Qiu Ji gave her a meaningful smile. She was so scared that she immediately lowered her head. She sat in the last row with Bei Gong Tang. Her seat was still clean and there wasn't even a speck of dust. I don't like dirty seats next to me. Bei Gong Tang explained simply, then took out her textbook and started reading. Thank you. No matter what, the other party had helped her clean her desk. She still had to thank them. You guys went out last night. Have you settled everything? Bei Gong Tang's gaze was still on her book. However, thinking about how Sima Yue had looked at He Qiu Ji just now, she knew that there would be a good show coming up. She didn't know why, but when she saw Sima Yue, she always felt a sense of familiarity. She would also subconsciously pay attention to her matters. This was something that had never happened in her previous life. In the past, she only wanted to become stronger and return to that place to take revenge on those people. Now that she was actually concerned about other people's matters, she felt that it was strange. Chapter 59. This lesson was about geography and it just so happened that the Pu Luo mountain range was covered. After explaining the terrain, the teacher began to talk about the spirit beasts in the mountain range. The entire lesson was focused on explaining the characteristics of the spirit beasts and so on. Sima Yue listened attentively. If she wanted to survive in this world, she had to understand it well. Furthermore, she had seen some of the spirit beasts in the Pu Luo mountain range before, so it did not sound too boring. Especially since the teacher's words were very practical. If she had known these things before she went to the Pu Luo mountain range, it would not have been as difficult to deal with the spirit beasts as before. She and Bei Gong Tang listened attentively, but that Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi's minds were not here. They were also absent-minded as they listened to the lesson. With great difficulty, they managed to endure until the end of the lesson. The moment the teacher left, the two of them glanced at Sima Yue and immediately ran out. One of them went to look for Feng Zhixing, while the other ran towards the school's plaza. Before leaving, Wei Ziqi even shouted towards the classroom, "If you want to watch the show, go to the school's plaza." Being shouted at by Wei Ziqi without rhyme or reason, everyone's curiosity was piqued and they all went to the school's plaza. He Qiuji saw that everyone had left and sat in her seat without moving. She had a premonition that this show had something to do with her. Let's go. Sima Yuyue and Bei Gongtang were waiting at the back of the classroom. Seeing that everyone had left and He Qiuji was still sitting in her seat, they stepped forward and said, I'm not going. He Qiuji said, I still have some things to do. Yes, I still have some things to do. I'll leave first. After speaking, she stood up and wanted to leave. Sima Yuyue grabbed her collar and said, You are one of the main characters today. If you don't go, then wouldn't this show be incomplete? Let's go. Sima Yuyue, let go of me. When He Qiuji heard Sima Yuyue say this, she was even more unwilling to go. She twisted her body in an attempt to break free from her grip. But no matter how she tried to move, she was still held tightly. Sima Yuyue saw that He Qiuji was being restless and grabbed her hand. Shi Qiuji's hand pulled her hand back. Shi Yuyue was in pain, and she scolded, Sima Yuyue, what are you trying to do? Aren't you afraid of being expelled from the academy? Sima Yuyue's hand tightened. Sima Yuyue, you think that I would deal with you in private? I will not give Nalan Lan an excuse to expel me from the academy. Yuyue Sima. He Qiuji looked at Bei Gongtang, who was standing at the side, and gave up resisting. By the time Sima Yuyue and Bei Gongtang brought He Qiuji to the academy plaza, there were already many people gathered there. Other than the new students, there were also many older students. The academy plaza was right in the center of the academy. It was the place where students had to pass by after class. Hearing that there was going to be a show, everyone stayed behind. Those who wanted to watch the show stood in groups of 2s and 3s. Everyone was curious about what was going to happen today. Nalan Lan and Murongan walked out of the classroom together with 3 or 4 other students. When they passed by the academy plaza, they were stopped by Sima Yuyue. Seeing Sima Yuyue, the 2 leaders' faces fell. Murongan's face was cold as he said, Sima Yuyue, why are you looking for me again? Sima Yuyue, how can you be so shameless? You just heard that you came back and you came to pester young Master Murong. The people behind started to scold her. When has he ever been shameless? Every time he saw young Master Murong, he would come running over like a dog. Sima Yulu had received Sima Yoyue's message in the morning, telling him to come to the academy plaza after class. He didn't expect to hear those people scolding his brother the moment he arrived. He rushed over and punched the person who was talking. You dare to scold my brother? You're looking for death. Ah. That person was beaten to the ground. Sima Yulu, do you want to fight? Those people quickly helped their friend up. So what if I want to fight? Sima Yulu looked at the people who were glaring at him. He stood in front of Sima Yuyue and raised his chin, looking like he was going to beat them up. Sima Yuyue pulled on Sima Yuli's arm, saying, Fourth brother, why are you wasting your breath on these trash? Aren't you lowering your own status for nothing? Sima Yuyue, what did you say? Someone shouted. Fourth brother, look, they don't even understand human language. There's no point in arguing with them. Sima Yuyue shrugged her shoulders, then looked at Murongan and said, Murongan, you're even more disgusting than them. Narcissistic dogs are the most annoying. The commotion had already attracted many people over. When they heard Sima Yuyue's words, everyone sighed. Since when did Sima Yuyue speak to Murongan like that? What did you say? He was called a dog in front of so many people, and the other party was a waste. His anger flared up. It's the truth. Sima Yuyue said, I didn't come here to look for you. The moment you opened your mouth, you asked me why I came here. If this isn't narcissism, then what is? Or is it that you're impressed by this young master's beauty and hope that this young master came here to look for you so that you can do something? Nonsense. Murongan quickly denied. Whether you're talking nonsense or not, I'm too lazy to argue with you. Sima Yuyue saw that Fatty Chu had already brought Feng Zhixing along with the short and fat head of teaching. Seeing that it was about time, she said, Nalan Lan, I'm here to look for you today. Look for me? When Nalan Lan heard Sima Yoyue's words, her heart skipped a beat. She thought that Sima Yoyue couldn't possibly have any evidence against her. Even if Hichioji said that she was the one who ordered it, she could just deny it. Thus, she calmed down and asked, why are you looking for me? Why is everyone gathered here? Also, who did you say called us here? The head of teaching looked at the crowd and asked with a frown. Head of teaching, I was the one who asked someone to invite you here. Sima Yoyue took 2 steps forward and said, I have something that I want the academy to decide for me. Seeing Sima Yoyue, the head of teaching's eyes flashed with disdain and disgust. However, he still asked, what's the matter? The last time when I was choosing the spirit beast eggs, I was framed by someone and was pushed into the 4th teleportation array. This is something that everyone knows. Now that I've found the person who framed me, I wanted to take revenge on them directly. However, I thought of the Academy's rule that no one is allowed to harm other students, so I specially asked the Academy to decide for me. Who was it? The head of teaching had yet to speak when Feng Zhixing asked first. He had always been suspicious. Out of so many people, why was she the only one who was pushed into the 4th teleportation array? So it was someone who framed her. Thinking about how she almost didn't make it back, his cold eyes flashed with coldness. Sima Yoyue glared fiercely at the people around him. Since she was here to say it, the person who framed her must be here. Thinking that someone actually dared to frame Sima Yoyue, his face was filled with uncontrollable rage. Chapter 60. 4th brother, don't be agitated. I believe that the Academy will uphold justice. Sima Yoyue patted Sima Yuli's shoulder, then looked at Hichioji who was trembling with fear. She then looked at Nalan Lan who had a confident expression on her face and said, Nalan Lan, why did you want to harm me? Sima Yoyue's words caused an uproar in the quiet square. Everyone looked at Nalan Lan in disbelief. She was the one who caused Sima Yoyue's death. Sima Yoyue, don't talk nonsense. When did I harm you? Nalan Lan immediately denied, you went missing when the freshmen were choosing the beast eggs. I'm a senior, how could I harm you? I didn't go to the cave with you. The head of teaching nodded and said, what Nalan Lan said is right. She's not a new student, how could she possibly harm you? Sima Yoyue saw that the dean was going to side with Nalan Lan. She didn't go, but she got someone else to do it. Right, Hichioji? You wouldn't push me to the 4th teleportation array for no reason, right? When Hichioji was called out, her body trembled subconsciously. She raised her head and saw that everyone was looking at her. She stuttered and couldn't speak. And Nalan Lan looked at Hichioji and said to the head of teaching, Sir, I really didn't want to hurt Sima Yoyue. If she tells Hichioji to say that I ordered her to do it, I won't be able to defend myself. Hichioji did not expect Nalan Lan to say this. She looked at her in shock, anger and helplessness flashed across her eyes as she said, Miss Nalan, you were the one who told me that entering the 4th teleportation formation would lead to certain death. You told me to push Sima Yoyue in while we were choosing the beast eggs. Don't try to push all the blame onto me now. Nalan Lan had an expression that said, you see, I knew she would say that. I think it's Sima Yoyue who told her to say that, right? You know very well whether it's true or not, don't you? Sima Yoyue smirked. She looked at Nalan Lan as if she was a clown. Know what? Sima Yoyue, I know that our families don't have a good relationship, but you can't slander me like this. Sima Yoyue, what do you want to do? Murongan looked at Sima Yoyue with disgust. He felt that she was doing this to attract his attention, and he found her to be an eyesore. Do I need you to ask me what I want to do? Sima Yoyue glanced disdainfully at Murongan. She could tell that he was being narcissistic. Feng Zhixing regained his calm and said, you said that it was Hichioji who pushed you into the teleportation array, and that she was instructed by Nalan Lan? Sima nodded. Feng Zhixing looked at Hichioji and asked with a cold face, Hichioji, do you plead guilty? Hichioji looked at Feng Zhixing and knelt down, Teacher Feng, I didn't want to harm Sima Yue. It was Nalan Lan who told me to do it. If she didn't tell me, how would a new student like me know that there was a problem with the fourth teleportation array? Nalan Lan wasn't the only one who knew that there was a problem with the teleportation array. What proof do you have that she told you to do it? Do you have any proof? The head of teaching said, if not, I can say that someone else told you and you wanted to protect the person behind you. My words are the proof. It was really Nalan Lan who told me to do it. Hichoji didn't expect that the head of teaching wouldn't believe her words. Sima Yue wasn't surprised by the current situation. After all, the head of teaching's surname was Nalan. He was a member of the Nalan family. Naturally, he would speak up for Nalan Lan. Your words naturally can't be used as proof. The head of teaching said, if you don't have any other proof, I will have to make a decision on this matter. Hichoji glared at Nalan Lan unwillingly. At that time, she had never thought that Sima Yu would come back alive. Furthermore, the two of them would always meet alone. It was a verbal agreement, so there was naturally no other evidence. Now, this head of teaching announces that Hichoji framed Sima Yue and violated the school's rule of not harming students. Hichoji will be expelled from the school and will no longer be protected by the school. She can't say that she is a student of the school. The head of teaching said. No, don't expel me. Hichoji heard that the head of teaching had expelled her just like that and cried, it was really Nalan Lan who told me to do it. She is the mastermind. Nonsense. You are no longer a student of the school. If you dare to randomly accuse a student of the school will not let you off easily. The head of teaching roared. Then, he turned around to look at Sima Yue and asked, what do you think of this decision? Sima Yue was waiting for the head of teaching to punish Hichoji and said, I am very satisfied with the punishment for this accomplice. However, I hope that the head of teaching can deal with the culprit fairly. When the head of teaching heard Sima Yue's words, he raised his eyebrows and said, what do you mean? I mean it literally. Sima Yue said, just now, when you said that you had evidence, you only asked Hichoji. You didn't ask me. You said that you have evidence? Feng Zhixing looked at Sima Yue and asked. Yes. Ziqi. Sima Yue looked at Wei Ziqi and said. Yes. Wei Ziqi took out a sound stone and handed it over to Sima Yue. Sima Yue took the sound stone and turned around to give it to Feng Zhixing, saying, everything is here. Feng Zhixing did not think that Sima Yue would actually have a sound stone. He naturally knew how to use it. Holding the sound stone, he inserted a bit of spiritual energy into it and the veined patterns on the sound stone began to move. Head of teaching, you must listen carefully. Sima Yue said with a smile. Help? Say it. Who did you offend this time? Nalan Lan's voice sounded from the sound stone. It's Sima Yue. She's back. Hichoji said. Sima Yue? You said that she's back. Yes, I saw her in the school building today. She's alive and well. She's not dead at all. How can that be? Are you sure it's her? The voice from the sound stone caused Hichoji and Nalan Lan to be stunned. This was clearly the conversation between the two of them at the pavilion by the lake last night. It's really her. Miss Nalan, you said that if one entered the fourth teleportation circle, they would definitely die. That was why I believed you and pushed her in. But now that she's back, she wants to take revenge on me. That look in her eyes makes people's hair stand. She said that she's going to take my life. Miss Nalan, you have to save me. You were the one who told me to do this. What are you panicking for? Even if that trash is back, what can she do to us? She saw me push her into the fourth teleportation circle. She will definitely take revenge on me. The school prohibits students from killing each other. Once it's discovered that someone harms another person, they will immediately be expelled from the school. As long as Sima Yue doesn't have evidence, she can't say that we did it. As long as you don't accept when she challenges you, you won't be in danger. Also, would that trash dare to cause trouble for you in the school? You can't even beat a trash, right? Hearing this, the surrounding students looked at Lan in shock. She really was the one who ordered Hichoji to do this. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.